Chapter 137. In fact, Xueqi was not adept at such high-altitude reconnaissance. It did not recognize Class 3 alien insects and could not call out their names. However, as long as Xueqi described the appearance of a Class 3 alien insect, most people would be able to call out its name. After all, understanding the various dimensional life forms in the dimensional rifts had long been a compulsory course for every Radiance Federation citizen. It was rare for Xueqi to see Lin Yuan so serious, so it flew out of the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch. It flew in the direction of the dark red dimensional rift in the dark of night. At this time, Lu Pinru had already placed the large wardrobe that was as tall as two people on the ground with a shake of her shoulder. Then, she quickly circulated her spiritual power. As Lu Pinru circulated her spiritual power, the door of the two-person tall wardrobe suddenly opened. Only then did Lin Yuan know what Lu Pinru's contracted fey was and why she had been carrying a two-person tall wardrobe on her back. There were densely packed silk racks in the wardrobe, and there were 3 light yellow silkworm babies that were about 3 inches long on the silk racks. As Lu Pinru circulated her spirit chi, the 3 silkworm babies quickly spat out silk and weaved spirit chi silk clothes on the silk racks. The woven silk clothes were not ordinary clothes, but were woven from energy. The 3 silkworm babies spat out silk very quickly, and in just a short while, a silk clothes made of energy were completed on the silk racks. Then, Lu Pinru took down the silk clothes from the silk racks. At that moment, Lin Yuan used true data on the 3 silkworm babies that looked exactly the same. Fey name, Firefly Weaving Silkworm, Fey species, Silkworm species/Cocoon species, Fey grade, Silver, 8 out of 10, Fey type, Wood spirituality quality, Flawless abilities Frowny Face Silk Spray, rapidly spit out a large number of messy silk threads to protect oneself. Light silk clothes, spray energy silk threads to weave on the body to make the body light and faster. Strong armor silk clothes, spray energy silk threads to form silk clothes that can effectively defend against physical damage. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Tough Silk. Silk has strong toughness, which can greatly increase and reduce the wear and tear of silk products. Under true data, he was surprised to find that these 3 lustrous weaver silkworms not only had the same abilities, but they also had tough silk exclusive skills. It wasn't that the tough silk's exclusive skill was rare, or that the 3 lustrous weaver silkworms' abilities were outstanding. The real difficulty was that these 3 lustrous weaver silkworms had identical abilities and exclusive skills. Fey Evolution's exclusive skills were ever-changing. A single lustrous weaver silkworm might have thousands of exclusive skills, and the lustrous weaver silkworm's abilities weren't completely fixed when it evolved. These 3 lustrous weaver mulberry silkworms had the same exclusive skills in order to increase the weaving speed of the energy silk cloaks. Lu Pinru wasn't like other support class spirit chi professionals, who could use various control type abilities to weaken and restrict the target. As a support class spirit chi professional, Lu Pinru chose to sacrifice her personal combat ability and fully support her teammates. Zhang Xiaobai took the energy silk cloak that Lu Pinru had just woven and handed it to Lin Yuan. Black. Wear this strong armor silk clothes first. It can help you resist some physical attacks. Pinru's clothes are very easy to wear. Lin Yuan didn't stand on ceremony. As a healing-type spirit chi professional, it was the best choice to heal his teammates and not let them divert their energy to protect him. After wearing this strong armor silk clothes, Lin Yuan's body was surrounded by a layer of silk mixed with energy to form an elegant energy yarn shadow. Lu Pinru wasn't stingy with the spiritual power in her body, and soon, over a dozen strong armor silk clothes were made. After distributing them to the remaining healing-type spirit chi professionals, the rest were distributed to the spirit chi professionals with gold phase. As these strong armor silk clothes were made, Lu Pinru's face became abnormally pale. Lu Pinru hurriedly took out some spiritual ingredients that could slowly recover spiritual power and took 2 bites before saying, "Let me rest for 5 minutes. After that, I will continue to weave the strong armor silk clothes." Apart from healing-type spirit chi professionals who would wear the strong armor silk clothes that Lu Pinru weaved, most of the other spirit chi professionals with gold phase would choose to let their phase wear the strong armor silk clothes. Since the strong armor silk clothes were mainly made of energy silk, they wouldn't be bound by a specific shape. Even a large-sized fey would be able to pull the silk armor and wrap it around its body. Lin Yuan could see the obvious anticipation on the faces of the surrounding spirit chi professionals after witnessing Lu Pinru's ability. Lin Yuan could completely understand these spirit chi professionals' desire for the strong armor silk clothes. Although they were more or less prepared to die to protect Millstone Town, No one didn't want to have an additional layer of protection on the battlefield. However, there was no one who did not wish to have an additional layer of protection on the battlefield. Even if this layer of protection was just an energy silk coat that would be damaged after a few attacks from Class 1 or Class 2 alien insects. Lin Yuan made a prompt decision and circulated his spiritual power to summon the Bronze/Legend Spirit Gather Goldfish that Morbius had Spirit Lock. This was Lin Yuan's first time summoning Blackie to the outside world. Blackie was originally inviting the female 5 Fortune Ranchu to play in the spirit pool and leisurely eating the butterfly shells. Now that Lin Yuan had summoned it, it habitually swung its tail. When the Spirit Gather Goldfish swung its tail twice, it swung its tail, which was half the length of its body, into a black peony. After swinging its tail, Blackie waited seriously for Lin Yuan's instructions. When Lin Yuan summoned Blackie, due to its exclusive skill, Spirit Gather imprint, it didn't release any trace of spirit chi. However, the faint dragon aura already showed everyone that Blackie was a dragon species fae. Rather than saying that the Spirit Gather Goldfish that had awakened its dragon species bloodline was actually a luxury that only the rich could have. Blackie, use Spirit Injection on Lu Pinru and help her recover her spirit chi. When Lin Yuan ordered Blackie to use Spirit Injection, he completely forgot that his name was Blackie. Blackie immediately spat out pure spirit chi from its mouth and injected it into Lu Pinru's body. Although the Spirit Gather Goldfish was only at bronze, it had awakened its dragon species bloodline, and its quality had been upgraded to the legend quality that others dreamed of. Therefore, the effect of Spirit Injection was extremely strong. While Lu Pinru had a surprised expression, Blackie quickly helped her recover her spiritual power. The Extreme Guild Club's quartet didn't expect Lin Yuan's pre-battle preparations to actually bring them another surprise. Spirit Injection, which could recover spiritual power, was always hard to come by. This was because the other abilities of Fays with this ability were rather mediocre, and it wasn't a good choice for a contract. However, this ability had a crucial effect on the battlefield and in the tournament. Lu Pinru could feel the spiritual power in her body recovering rapidly. When Lu Pinru felt that the spirit chi in her body was almost recovered, she didn't hesitate and continued to produce the firm armor silk clothing without stopping. Compared to the silk clothing weaved by the lustrous weaver silkworm's other abilities, the firm armor silk clothing was undoubtedly more useful in this insect tide. Zhang Xiaobai took the silk clothing made by Lu Pinru and shouted, "Pinru's clothes can be worn by humans and beasts. Pinru's clothes can be worn by both humans and beasts. When wearing clothes, please choose Pinru's wardrobe." Zhang Xiaobai might be talking nonsense, but his eyes were surging with fighting spirit and determination. Xin Ying was also doing a pre-battle mobilization to increase everyone's morale. The healing-type spirit chi professional who owned the spitting turtle dove was pressing on its head and saying, "Drink some more water. If you don't have enough saliva later, you won't be able to eat your favorite gray beetles in the future." When the spitting turtle dove heard the gray beetles, which were originally unwilling to drink even if it was beaten to death, it burped and gulped down the third bucket of water. There were already 2 empty water buckets beside the spitting turtle dove. Lin Yuan's eyes focused. Chimey, which had flown out to scout, had already flown back. Lin Yuan could feel the panic in Chimey's heart when it was flying. Baiduan read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House, for free. Chapter 138. When Chimey flew in front of Lin Yuan, he immediately communicated with it. After some communication and sensing what Chimey was seeing, Lin Yuan's face behind the mask was terrifyingly gloomy. Lin Yuan had long known through the Mother of Bloodbath that the alien insect dimensional rift outside Millstone Town was a pinnacle class 1 dimensional rift. However, through Chimey's image, he could feel the countless alien insects gathering under the dimensional rift. The densely packed alien insects were close to each other, and some were even stacked together. If Chimey had not experienced Cheng Wu's and Cheng Rui's previous attack and experienced life and death, Chimey would probably explode upon seeing so many alien insects. Of course, this massive insect swarm was not the reason for Lin Yuan's gloomy expression. The main reason was that Chimey saw 3 Class 3 alien insects. Class 3 Acid Tapeworm. Class 3 Spiky Beetle. There was also a Class 3 alien insect that was halfway out of the dimensional rift. Among the 3 Level 3 alien insects, the Acid Tapeworm was like a green fluorescent light bulb under the night sky. It was exceptionally eye-catching. The acid tapeworm's skin was like a translucent and tough membrane that was filled with green and highly corrosive acid. When the acid tapeworm sprayed out this corrosive acid, as long as flesh came in contact with it, it would immediately carbonize. The other Class 3 alien insect, the spiky beetle, was simply like an iron-skinned tortoise with terrifying thick armor. Its huge body had the strength of a strange insect that could lift several times its own body weight. Under rapid collision, the spikes on the spiky beetle's body could even pierce through city walls. Of course, everyone present also had gold phase that could fight with Class 3 alien insects. So Lin Yuan was not very worried about these two Class 3 alien insects. The important thing was that the third gold alien insect that Xueqi saw was a slender black line coming out of the dimensional rift. This black line was the reason why Lin Yuan was frowning. The third alien insect that revealed half of its body from the dimensional rift was the Class 3 alien insect's invisible killer, the heart-penetrating iron line. Normally, the heart-penetrating iron line would not expose its body and would hide in the bodies of other alien insects. From normal alien insects with no grades to Class 3 alien insects with grades, any alien insect could be the host of the heart-penetrating iron line. The heart-penetrating iron line controlled the host's movements while it seized the opportunity to suddenly appear. It would use its slender body like an iron wire to pierce the target's heart in front of it. It could be said to be an invisible assassin on the battlefield. With the Class 3 heart-penetrating iron line, every spirit chi professional had to be at least 120% focused. If the Class 3 alien insect found a gap and suddenly attacked and pierced the heart, there would be no cure. The heart was the blood power center. If the heart was shattered, the entire body's blood flow would stop, and the person would instantly lose their life. No matter how powerful a heal-type spirit chi professional was, they would not be able to save a person's heart. When everyone saw that Lin Yuan did not speak for a while after understanding the reconnaissance situation, the morale that had been boosted by Xueqi couldn't help but be a little low again. Lin Yuan was of heart penetrating of Ming Lin, red of. Even if a gold defense type Fei was pierced by the heart penetrating iron line, it would not be able to resist. Lin Yuan paused for a moment and said, "Acid tapeworm, spiky beetle." Then he said in a deep voice, "And the heart-penetrating iron line. There is also the heart-penetrating iron line. This time, the dimensional rift is a pinnacle class 1 dimensional rift." Since Lin Yuan had taken on the responsibility of scouting, he felt that he had to reveal the results of his scouting without concealing anything. This might affect morale, but having morale without preparation would not be able to win the battle. The opening of the alien insect dimensional rift this time was a fight to the death. There was a great disparity in strength between both sides, and if they could not even grasp the most accurate information, the final outcome would be the annihilation of the spirit chi professionals. The final outcome would be the complete annihilation of the spirit chi professionals. The non-spirit chi professionals in Millstone Town would become the alien insects' food, and Millstone Town would become the alien insects' flesh and blood paradise. Lin Yuan's words made everyone silent, and only the silly spitting turtle dove was still gulping down the third bucket of water. It was so full that it could eat the gray beetles and was unwilling to give up. All of a sudden, Zhang Xiaobai's off-key laughter echoed. Immediately after, Zhang Xiaobai clenched his fist and took a step forward. It doesn't matter if the alien insect dimensional rift is a normal class 1 or a pinnacle class 1. What we need to do is not to kill the insectide but to hold on until the reinforcements arrive. Zhang Xiaobai was not sure if Ascending Dragon City would really notice this dimensional rift. However, at such a time, someone had to stand up and boost the morale. Xueqi looked at Zhang Xiaobai with some other things in her eyes. He was obviously an off-key person, but he was unexpectedly reliable at crucial moments. Everyone was silent for a long time after hearing Zhang Xiaobai's words. Subsequently, someone yelled out, "Since we are staying, we are not afraid of death. Isn't it just an insectide? I can handle it. There is nothing to be afraid of. I might not be from Millstone Town, but I can't just watch my comrades get killed by the alien insects. Fight, fight, fight." Slowly, it was unknown if it was because of extreme cowardice or some kind of inextinguishable faith. The aura of everyone present instantly rose with the momentum of a hero. A radiant light spot that could support the morale fused with everyone's morale and shone brightly. A kind of radiant spirit rose from the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch. Under the night sky's dome, the incorporeal heroic spirit was already enough to resist the dimensional rift. The dark night of the dome is a silent recorder. Sword chi swept across 3,000 miles, and a single sword light shone on 19 provinces. This faith and heroic spirit might not be praised by many people in the future, but it would be forever remembered at this moment. When the radiant light spots gathered together, this power was enough to penetrate heaven and earth. When Lin Yuan felt this heroic spirit, he could not help but want to look up at the sky and laugh. However, at this critical moment, Lin Yuan quickly gathered his thoughts and restored himself to his most calm state. The alien insects may move at any time, and we cannot let them enter Millstone Town. Therefore, our only choice is to face the alien insects outside of Millstone Town. Millstone Town did not only have spirit chi professionals, but it also had ordinary people who did not have the strength to truss a chicken. If they faced the insectide head-on, they would instantly become the insectide's food. Moreover, if the alien insects invaded Millstone Town, they would be attacked from all sides, and the alien insects would not be able to defend at all. Soon, the alien insects would break the formation, and everyone would be engulfed by the insectide and eaten one by one. Millstone Town city wall was built on 2 mountain peaks, and one side of the city wall connected the 2 peaks. Due to its proximity to the endless forest, Millstone Town's city wall was very thick. Outside Millstone Town, relying on the city wall to fight against the insectide was undoubtedly the best choice. Lu Pinru had been continuously creating the firm armor silk coat. Although Blackie had been constantly replenishing it with spirit injection, Lu Pinru had obviously overdrawn her spiritual power. Lu Pinru cooperated with her 3 firefly mulberry silkworms and squeezed out all her spiritual power. Now, almost all the silver professionals had a set of firm armor silk coat. Lu Pinru's face was as pale as paper, and sweat was sliding down her cheeks. Lu Pinru wiped the sweat off her cheeks and stood up to carry the huge wardrobe that was as tall as 2 people. She lifted her legs and strode forward. Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet took the lead, followed by the Spirit Chi professionals who had settled in Millstone Town and the Spirit Chi professionals who were preparing to adventure in the Endless Forest. Over 1,000 people had a heroic spirit that was indifferent to life and death, and they immediately set up a formation under Millstone Town's city wall. Dozens of firm armor silk coats emitted a faint fluorescent light, and amidst the insect cries, even the silk coats were tainted with a trace of austere aura. Just as everyone was about to set up, Lin Yuan could not help but feel the atmosphere suddenly tense up. Lin Yuan took a deep breath. At that moment, deafening insect cries came from the distance, and the low-grade alien insects were rushing over. It made everyone feel as though the ground under their feet was constantly trembling. Lin Yuan looked into the distance and saw countless yellow, green, red, and brown light spots densely packed under the night sky. They were like the waves in the ocean, surging over at an astonishing speed. Behind each dot of light was the eye of an alien insect that was running. Under this menacing sea of insects, everyone circulated their spirit chi and summoned their fays. A war was about to break out. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House, for free. Chapter 139. Under the night sky, the surging insect tide brought with it a fishy smell that belonged exclusively to the alien insects. The wind brought by the insect tide spread this smell to the noses of the people below Millstone Town's city walls. Zhang Xiaobai could not help but mutter, "Wow, this smell is so smelly. Fortunately, I didn't eat kidney before. Otherwise, I would vomit now." As Zhang Xiaobai muttered, he kept commanding his 2 fays. One of Zhang Xiaobai's fays was a mediocre defense-type fay, the Strong Wind Clam. The Strong Wind Clam could give other fays a strong wind shield with extremely strong physical defense. At the same time, the strong wind on the surface could also cause powerful wind blade cutting damage due to the high-speed flow. Zhang Xiaobai's other fay was a bit strange. It was a fay that was as tall as a person. Logically speaking, fays that were as tall as a person were very common, but it was not common for this fay to be a bloody leech. How much blood did this gold bloody leech usually need to suck to be full? Zhang Xiaobai kept instructing the Gale Clam to give the gold bloody leech a gale shield, and then put on the bloody leech a full 5 layers of Pinru's wardrobe. My fays are very attractive to the alien insects. Watch my strong wind shield cut the alien insects until their mothers can't recognize them. Little clam, continue to put on the shield and don't be lazy. Otherwise, I won't give you salt and turn you into a freshwater clam. Zhang Xiaobai had returned to his previous unruly state, but his words were very reliable. Xianing looked at the unruly Zhang Xiaobai, and felt that she had nowhere to put her fists. At that moment, Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet had taken over the command. The gold fey that Xianing summoned was a pure gold big cat with a metallic luster. The big cat's figure was slender and elegant. The big cat was over 1 meter long and had very sharp claws. Xianing yelled, "Cat transformation! Cat transformation!" The big golden cat's body ignited with golden flames before it quickly pounced on Xianing and finally fused into her body like a shadow. Then, Xianing's aura changed. The beautiful black pupils in her phoenix eyes turned into golden vertical pupils. These vertical pupils belonged to feline fays and were the same as the big golden cat's vertical pupils. Sharp claws popped out of Xianing's hands, and soft golden cat fur grew. There were also 2 golden cat ears on its head. Lin Yuan looked at Xianing's transformation and sighed in his heart. As expected, the reserve team for the S tournament had extremely outstanding fays. The exclusive skill that Xianing's bronze fey had awakened was actually the rare shape-shifting possession ability. This shape-shifting possession exclusive skill was similar to tool transformation exclusive skills, and it was very difficult to appear. However, shape-shifting possession was different from tool transformation. Shape-shifting possession's exclusive skills weren't weak, and it wasn't like tool transformation's exclusive skills that depended on luck. If you had a good character, you could turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. If you had a bad character, you could only wear skateboarding shoes that exposed your toes. When a spirit chi professional cooperated with a fey with a shape-shifting possession exclusive skill, it was the same as having the fey's combat ability. A large part of the feline fey's combat power was the feline's bestial instinct, and this bestial instinct was perfectly carried by Xianing. Xianing raised a hand, and the sharp claws on her hand emitted golden flames that were exceptionally resplendent under the night sky. We still have too few people, and we don't have many high-grade combat power. Therefore those with gold fays will attack from the periphery, while those with silver and bronze fays will stand in 2 rows. If the front row can't hold on, retreat to the back and let the healing-type spirit chi professionals heal. The back row will immediately take over. Immediately after, Xianing quickly flashed in front of everyone, and an arc appeared on the ground that was drawn by Xianing's claws. In a while, we will use this line as the boundary and use the alien insect corpses to build a firm line of defense for us. Lin Yuan quickly understood Xianing's intention. Xianing wanted to kill the alien insects along this line, so that the alien insect corpses would constantly stack along this line. As long as there was a gap in these constantly stacked alien insect corpses, they would be able to carry out a good defense. Of course, this defensive method was only limited to the alien insects. Over the years, the constant opening of the alien insect dimensional rifts had given the Radiance Federation's Fey analysts more opportunities to constantly analyze the alien insects and finally came up with many ways to deal with the alien insects. Rather than saying that the alien insects were living beings with intelligence, it was better to say that they were a race that was willing to devour everything in order to be able to constantly evolve. The low-grade alien insects had very low intelligence and were almost in a state of chaos. Their actions were only based on instinct. Even if there were high-grade alien insects controlling them, in the face of the temptation of a large amount of alien insect flesh, the low-grade alien insects would probably immediately devour the flesh that was at the edge of their mouths. Of course, even for high-grade alien insects, there were almost no high-grade alien insects that could restrain their obsession with evolution. This was because this obsession was engraved in the bones and soul of dimensional life forms like the alien insects. The evolution of the alien insects came entirely from devouring flesh and absorbing the energy in it. Xianying's line could even stop the Class 3 alien insects' footsteps and let them stop to feast. It was also because of this instinct that allowed the people in Millstone Town to use the alien insects' instinctive footsteps as a sharp sword against the alien insects. The cruel instinct of the alien insects to rely on devouring to evolve was also one of the reasons why the alien insects were so terrifying. Any alien insect with a grade would have experienced countless battles on the other side of the dimensional rift and cruelly devoured many of their own kind. Therefore, almost every alien insect with a grade was a veteran executioner. The alien insects actually attacked Millstone Town because of the insect's echolocation, which could help the alien insects find the most living beings to devour. Facing the vast and sparse endless forest's periphery, there was no doubt that Millstone Town had the most flesh energy. This was why the insect tide would flock to Millstone Town. Lin Yuan turned to look at the group of healing-type spirit chi professionals behind him and said loudly, "All healing-type spirit chi professionals, be it bronze or elite, retreat to the back. All healing-type spirit chi professionals, be it bronze or elite, retreat to the back and find an opportunity to heal the injured combat class Spirit Chi professionals. I'll be the only one left on the battlefield at the front. My Fae can heal everyone. Just as Lin Yuan's voice fell, cheers rang out under Millstone Town's city walls. Lin Yuan's words had the effect of boosting morale at this crucial moment. Group healing meant that Lin Yuan could heal multiple targets at the same time, which also meant that everyone present had more chances to receive Lin Yuan's healing. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 140. Lin Yuan knew that in defending Millstone Town and resisting the insect tide, it was inevitable that people would be injured and sacrificed. However, what he could do was to make the other healing-type Spirit Chi professionals lag behind, and let him be in charge of the frontline medical duties on the battlefield. This would ensure the survival of healing-type Spirit Chi professionals, who did not have the ability to protect themselves. Only by ensuring the survival of these healing-type Spirit Chi professionals would there be more supplies. He was confident that he could rely on his own strength to complete the frontline supply very well. In fact, this was also because his Jasmine Lily was a fantasy breed. Otherwise, he would not have dared to be so careless. Even if there would be sacrifices in the war, he would do his best to maintain the sacrifice to the minimum of his ability. At that moment, the insect tide was already close, and everyone's faes were ready to face the enemy. At that moment, Lin Yuan finally understood why Tan Ran liked cute cat faes so much. But Zhang Xiaobai had said that Tan Ran had nothing to do with cute faes in his life. Tan Ran's two massive faes, which were 5 meters long and 3 meters tall, were standing there. One was a gold-ranked lava hippopotamus, and the other was a silver-ranked gluttonous hippopotamus. Lin Yuan glanced at Tan Ran, who had curly hair, a Shota face, and tender skin. A guess arose in his heart. Could it be that Tan Ran's affinity with hippopotamus-type faes is actually in the direction of hippopotamus-type faes? The contrast was simply cute. Seeing that the insect tide was less than 100 meters away from them and would reach them in just a few breaths of time, Zhang Xian's eyes widened. Zhang Xiaobai and his fae, the bloody leech, immediately stood in front. With a flash of a knife, Zhang Xiaobai cut his wrist and blood immediately dripped onto the bloody leech's body. Zhang Xiaobai shouted, "Little Hong Hong, use the oily plasma." The bloody leech's body quickly secreted a layer of glossy dark red blood. The blood was very viscous, like grease. The bloody leech's oily plasma was actually meant to defend against damage caused by sharp weapons and heavy blows. When the sharp weapons attacked the bloody leeches, they would be separated by the oily blood. Before they could even cut the bloody leeches, the oily blood would slide the sharp weapons away. And if he were to encounter a heavy blow, this layer of oily plasma could also act as a buffer. But now, this oily blood was being used as a tool to attract alien insects. The real world wasn't a game. Defense-class Spirit Chi professionals didn't have the ability to mock as it only existed in the game. However, the oily plasma's effect was equivalent to a taunt skill for the alien insects. The oily plasma exuded a thick smell of blood mixed with oil and blood. This smell melted into the night sky and stimulated the strange insects nearby. The alien insects that smelled the oily smell of blood immediately rushed in the direction of the bloody leeches. Zhang Xiaobai was taking advantage of the alien insects' weakness. The alien insects attracted by the smell of blood immediately crashed into the gale shield around the bloody leech. At this moment, the blood leech's body was covered with tens of layers of gale shields. The energy on the surface of the strong wind shield rotated at high speed, immediately shattering these alien insects that had no level. In the end, with the large number of alien insects charging at them, the dozen or so strong wind shields were not attacked at all. Instead, when the strong wind shredded the alien insects, they ran out of energy and dissipated. A large number of low-grade alien insect corpses on both sides of the gale shield had built half of the fortifications on this side. The alien insect corpses on both sides were 3 meters high, leaving only a gap where the bloody leech was standing. When Zhang Xiaobai saw that the fortifications were almost built, he immediately led the bloody leech to retreat. Immediately after, he moved to the other side of the battlefield to help build the fortifications and resist the fierce attack of the insect swarm. At this moment, the fortifications that Zhang Xiaobai had built were handed over to the Spirit Chi professionals who had settled in Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch president to defend. On the other side, Tan Ran's gold lava hippopotamus used its gold ability, Smelting Mantle. The land in front of the gold lava hippopotamus suddenly flowed, and the black land slowly turned red, emitting a scorching temperature and crimson flames. Finally, the land in this area turned into slowly flowing lava. Who knew how many alien insects had been melted by the flowing lava? On the side, the gluttonous hippopotamus bit the alien insects that had stepped on its companions' bodies and swallowed them. The alien insect's blood had strong acid toxicity, but this toxicity was nothing to the gluttonous hippopotamus. Lin Yuan looked at the gluttonous hippopotamus data and found that its exclusive skill was very interesting. Fey name, gluttonous hippopotamus, Fey species, hippopotamus/hairless horse, Fey grade. Silver, 7 out of 10. Fey type. Water, Fey quality. Flawless abilities, frowny face, tooth spike. Uses 5-inch long sharp teeth to perform continuous piercing. Hungry eating. The gluttonous hippopotamus is always in a hungry state and will crush and eat the target super quickly. Fasting bullet. The gluttonous hippopotamus stops eating and spits out all the energy accumulated during the eating process at one time, causing an energy explosion. Exclusive skill, frowny face, evil food filter. The gluttonous hippopotamus will purify and expel all the poisonous and harmful ingredients it eats during the eating process through the special glands in its lower jaw. At that moment, the gluttonous hippopotamus was using its exclusive skill to filter out the acid toxicity in the alien insect's blood and spit it into the insect swarm while chewing the alien insects. The purified acid was sprayed on the alien insect's carapaces, causing the alien insects' bodies to be corroded and softened. When the alien insects with softened carapaces were running in the swarm, their companions' carapaces would cut them into pieces, leaving no corpses behind. Xueqi, on the other hand, quickly hunted down the alien insects that were of a higher grade. Be it the Class 1 alien insects that were equivalent to bronze phase or the Class 2 alien insects that were equivalent to silver phase, Xueqi would jump up and tear with her sharp claws, quickly killing the Class 1 or Class 2 alien insects. The Class 1 and Class 2 alien insects that were killed would be thrown into the insect swarm that was mostly made up of normal alien insects, and it would immediately cause a small commotion. Those low-grade alien insects would frantically snatch the high-grade alien insect's flesh, which was also the reason that greatly slowed down the insect swarm's advancement. Lin Yuan's spirit gather goldfish was still constantly restoring Lu Pinru's spiritual power, while Lu Pinru was still producing the firm armor silk coat. Xueqi was guarding by Lin Yuan's side, while Lin Yuan stood behind Tan Ran. As long as an alien insect crossed Tan Ran's line of defense, it would be killed by Xueqi's sound spike. At that moment, Lin Yuan had already summoned the Jasmine Lily. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House, for free. Chapter 141. When the Jasmine Lily was summoned, the mottled jade-like color on its jade-green fasciated flowers seemed to be emitting an emerald glow. Faint multicolored light rose from within the dark green, making the unadorned flower look very extraordinary. Lin Yuan's Jasmine Lily had evolved into a fantasy breed. In the process of evolving into a fantasy breed, not only had it undergone a swarm mutation, but it had also undergone a fasciation mutation. Even an ordinary creation master would not be able to recognize that the Fey Lin Yuan had released was a Jasmine Lily. When Lin Yuan summoned the Jasmine Lily, the Extreme Guild Club's quartet and many combat class spirit chi professionals could feel that this Fey was quite extraordinary. However, no one would think of this Fey as a fantasy breed. They had never heard of a silver fantasy breed. However, when Lin Yuan used the Jasmine Lily's healing ability, he could not help but feel a little awkward. If he used the Jasmine Lily's fasciated flower to heal, the healing effect would indeed be much stronger. However, the happiness brought by the fasciated part of the healing was fatal to combat class spirit chi professionals in battle. If they were surrounded by this happiness and intoxicated in it, they would be torn apart by the alien insects that pounced on them. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only use the flower at the top of the Jasmine Lily that had not undergone fasciation to heal everyone in the front row. When Xueqi killed high-level alien insects in the insectide, it was inevitable that she would be ambushed by other alien insects and be injured. However, whenever Xueqi was injured, Xueqi found that there would always be a ray of green light on her body. The surging vitality in the green light could heal the wound with just one circulation. While Zhang Xiaobai's bloody leech resisted a large number of alien insects, the oily plasma on the bloody leech's body was almost scraped clean by the alien insect's attacks. Under the massive insectide's attack, it was inevitable to be injured by the low-grade alien insect's spikes and fangs. At that moment, there were many fine wounds on the bloody leech's body, and tissue fluid oozed out of the small wounds, almost drenching the bloody leech's body. Just when Zhang Xiaobai felt that the bloody leech could not hold on anymore, a ray of green light would shine on the bloody leech's body. The green light would quickly help the bloody leech replenish vitality and heal its injuries. When the combat class spirit chi professionals in the front row were having the hardest time to persevere, these beams of green light would always bring hope full of vitality. Regardless of whether it was the control of the amount of healing or the timing of the healing, everyone in the front line felt a sense of relief. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't do anything while resisting the insect tide, the people who had been treated by Lin Yuan would probably want to give him a thumbs up. Although this was his first time truly healing other spirit chi professionals, and it was under such a dangerous insect tide, he was still able to heal them. However, Lin Yuan appeared calm and methodical. He did not panic at all. Every time, the jasmine lily's flower head would split into 8 healing light beams. 8 healing light beams was the best choice that Lin Yuan had experimented with. Otherwise, if he split too many healing beams, he wouldn't be able to achieve the perfect healing effect. If the number of healing beams was too small, it would cause healing overflow. In this situation where healing was scarce, any healing overflow was an intolerable mistake. He healed everyone on the battlefield according to the frequency of the 8 healing light beams. From time to time, he would also turn around to help the healing-type spirit chi professionals at the back to lighten the burden. Every time there were combat-class spirit chi professionals who were seriously injured and had retreated from the battle, Lin Yuan would use the jasmine lily's embellished flower head to heal them. He would use the jasmine lily's embellished flower head to heal the combat-class spirit chi professionals who had retreated to the back. However, every time he healed them, these seriously injured combat-class spirit chi professionals would uncontrollably let out strange sounds. These strange sounds made this insect-tide battle seem a little strange. Zhang Xiaobai pursed his lips and could not help but mutter as he listened to these strange sounds. Is it really so blissful to be injured by alien insects? Why don't I feel it every time I'm beaten up by Xueqi? If this is blissful, what's the difference between Xueqi and the alien insects? Xueqi was busy killing rank alien insects. When she heard Zhang Xiaobai's words, she felt a fire ignite in her heart. His body, which had become fatigued from the high-intensity killing of the alien insects, and his speed, which had slowed down a little, immediately picked up. After Xueqing's cat transformation, her sharp claws struck repeatedly. The efficiency of killing the alien insects was instantly many times higher than when she was physically strong. Lin Yuan found that among the healing-type spirit chi professionals at the back, the healing-type spirit chi professional with the spitting turtle dove had really made a great contribution. Although the spitting turtle dove's ability was disgusting, its sticky saliva could effectively stop bleeding. Therefore, almost every combat-class spirit chi professional at the back who retreated to the back had the spitting turtle dove's sticky saliva on them. Under the pressure of its contractor, the spitting turtle dove frantically spat its saliva in resignation. The spitting turtle dove was now very regretful. If it had known that it would have to spit so much saliva now, it would have said earlier that even if it was not for the delicious gray beetles, it would drink another bucket of water and the 4th bucket of water. If the spitting turtle dove could speak, it would probably jump up and shout, "I really don't have a single drop left." In less than 20 minutes of such a battle, a line of defense built with alien insect flesh had basically been built. At that moment, a violent collision sound suddenly came from a solid line of defense built with alien insect flesh. A few black spikes pierced through the defense line made of flesh and blood, causing a hole to appear in the defense line. A huge black beetle with spikes all over its body was quickly devouring the alien insect flesh on the line of defense that had been smashed open. This black beetle was one of the 3 Class 3 alien insects. Class 3 alien insect. Spiky beetle. Now, one of the 3 Class 3 alien insects had finally appeared in the insect tide. It was said that alien insects were greedy, and this greed referred to the alien insect's desire for flesh and blood. Even the Class 3 spiky beetle was no exception. At that moment, the spiky beetle was at its most excited. With such a large number of insect corpses piled up here, the spiky beetle could not help but quickly use its mouth to enjoy this gluttonous feast. Xueqing's expression turned cold. She circulated the spirit chi in her body, and a golden cat-shaped fey image appeared behind her. Xueqing gave Tan Ran and Zhang Xiaobai a look. Zhang Xiaobai and Tan Ran looked at each other and immediately commanded their feys to attack to attract the spiky beetle's attention. The spiky beetle hissed when it saw the bloody leech and the lava hippopotamus. Sensing that the bloody leech and the lava hippopotamus had power that was not inferior to its own, the spiky beetle rushed toward them. The spiky beetle's best attack method was the sharp thorn's carapace that carried a huge force. Under the huge force, the thorn's penetrative power could even penetrate steel plates of the same thickness as the thorns. The explosive power of the thorns was truly terrifying. At that moment, Xueqi had condensed the golden cat image behind her into her sharp claws. Xiao! Xueqi, in her cat form, used all her strength to launch a sneak attack on the spiky beetle's weakest spot. Buggy's little anus. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 142. During the spiky beetle's charge, Xueqi's sneak attack succeeded. When the golden cat phantom hidden in the claws hit the spiky beetle's weak point, it exploded. The entire golden cat phantom scuttled into the buggy's small anus. This attack, which carried Xueqi's full force, exploded in the spiky beetle's body. Even though the spiky beetle was a Class 3 alien insect, Xueqi, a B-rank power offense-type spirit chi professional with a gold fey, had hit its weak point with her full force. Although it was still struggling, this struggle was clearly the spiky beetle's final resistance before its death. Soon, the spiky beetle completely lost its life and was motionless. Zhang Xiaobai immediately commanded the bloody leech to suck the spiky beetle's blood. The bloody leech could quickly replenish the stamina lost during the battle by absorbing blood. A large part of the defense line built by the alien insect flesh under Millstone Town's city wall was Zhang Xiaobai and the bloody leech's credit. If the bloody leech had not used the oily plasma to lure them, the fortifications would not have been built so quickly. At that moment, everyone had been fighting hard for nearly an hour, and their stamina had long been depleted. They were still persevering in the battle, relying on the faith, protection, and desire to live in their hearts. Zhang Xiaobai's bloody leech sucked the spiky beetle's blood dry. The spiky beetle's acidic blood caused the bloody leech to suffer serious injuries, but it recovered its stamina very well. Then, Zhang Xiaobai commanded the bloody leech to fill in the fortifications that had been knocked open by the spiky beetle. The spiky beetle's carapace was facing outward, and the low-grade alien insects that collided head-on were pierced by the spikes like Tonghulu. It seemed that the spiky beetle had also contributed a lot to the fortifications. Under the night sky, the battle was still going on. Lin Yuan could completely feel that everyone no longer had much stamina. Not only had the front row's defense become a little strenuous, but even the combat-class spirit chi professionals with bronze and silver phase in the back row had also rotated much faster than before. New injuries were barely healed, and old injuries were added before they healed, making it hard for everyone to hold on. Healing-type spirit chi professionals were already rare, including healing-type spirit chi professionals with spitting turtle doves and bronze phase. The spiritual power in these healing-type spirit chi professionals' bodies had long been overdrawn. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly received an intimate greeting. This greeting came from Lin Yuan's spiritual spatial zone. Red Thorn had already awakened from its previous evolution, and Lin Yuan had a pleasantly surprised expression on his face. Red Thorn's awakening had come at the right time. Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn without hesitation. A nearly 2-meter-tall strange plant appeared beside Lin Yuan's hand. At the center of the 2-meter-tall plant was a huge sphere. The folds of the sphere were covered with sharp teeth. Every sharp tooth was a bloody mouth. This organ of Red Thorn was the mouth of Relinquish that had evolved after reaching the bronze grade. Above the mouth of Relinquish grew a layer of huge but stacked flesh-like flowers. The flower was full of wrinkles and carried a strange fragrance. The digestive cavity that Red Thorn had transformed from growing the mouth of Relinquish was already filled with a powerful acid that Red Thorn had refined from digesting the flesh of various dimensional life forms. Not only could the acid help the mouth of Relinquish digest, but it could also be spat out by the huge rose-shaped flowers growing on the digestive cavity. The first 18 vines that grew from Red Thorn could already extend to a length of 7 to 8 meters. It was as thick as an arm, and the barbs that originally grew on it now had many new jagged teeth. The newly grown vines on the periphery had also reached the thickness of a thumb. Not only did it have barbs, but the barbs were also hollow. When it pierced into the target's body, it could also inject the acid from Red Thorn's digestive cavity. At this moment, Red Thorn was more like a killing machine than when it was at elite rank. However, this wasn't the reason why Lin Yuan was confident in Red Thorn. The real reason he was confident in Red Thorn was because of the new layers of flesh-like flowers on the mouth of Relinquish. This was an organ that grew from Red Thorn's new exclusive skill when it evolved to bronze grade. This organ was the spore cavity. Lin Yuan yelled. All combat class spirit chi professionals at the front, retreat. Protect the combat class spirit chi professionals at the back. Spirit chi professionals with gold phase. Pay attention to killing the alien insects with grades. Everyone didn't understand why Lin Yuan would give such an order, but their instinctive trust in Lin Yuan made the quartet retreat at the same time. Red Thorn had not seen Lin Yuan for a long time. At that moment, the smooth vine that Red Thorn had specially evolved for Lin Yuan was wrapped around Lin Yuan's wrist. It expressed the intimacy of Red Thorn's bloodline, which wasn't considered high in intelligence. Lin Yuan held the smooth vine and said, Red Thorn, release your spores to your heart's content. Red Thorn, release your spores to your heart's content and devour all the alien insects that can be devoured. Red Thorn could feel the alien insect corpses all over the ground and the countless alien insects not far away. It conveyed a joyful emotion. In Red Thorn's naive opinion, these alien insects were food that Lin Yuan had sent to it after it had just awakened. The spore cavity on Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish trembled. Countless spores drifted out from the layers of flesh-like petals, and each of the spores flew to the alien insect corpses and quickly took root. In just a few seconds, Red Thorn's spores absorbed all the alien insect corpses' energy. As a result, it grew into a miniature version of Red Thorn with only one digestive cavity and several vines. These spore newborn child ramets divided into rhizomes and quickly connected together, transferring energy to each other. A few stalks that were closest to Red Thorn were directly rooted in the alien insect's flesh defenses. They were also the strongest cluster of ramets that were connected to all the child ramets that grew from the spores. Finally, these strong cluster of ramets placed their roots on Red Thorn's roots and transferred the energy absorbed by the numerous child ramets in the sea of insects. Everyone defended for over an hour, and the killed insect corpses were quickly absorbed by these child ramets that were spread all over the mountain. Red Thorn was still constantly releasing spores, so new and tender child ramets were quickly growing again. The child ramets that had previously grown were also constantly becoming stronger, growing from a height of 30 centimeters to nearly half a meter. If the rose-shaped flower in the digestive cavity spun, it would be able to swallow most of the alien insects. Each child ramet had a digestive cavity, and the digestive cavity had a large and beautiful red rose-shaped flower. Under this night sky, the sea of flowers was hidden in the meandering vines with sharp barbs. This scene was both beautiful and strange. Amidst the strangeness, there was also an extreme magnificence. While this sea of flowers was rapidly digesting the alien insect corpses, it had already started to sweep up the alien insects. Most of the alien insects didn't have a grade, and most of these alien insects weren't even at the normal grade. Such alien insects were the best soil for the child ramets to absorb nutrients. The sea of flowers spread toward the alien insect sea, as though it had already treated the alien insect sea as the most sumptuous dinner under this night sky. Everyone in Millstone Town, including the quartet from the Extreme Guild Club, looked at the flourishing sea of flowers that suddenly appeared in a daze. They then looked at Lin Yuan and Red Thorn's Ortet and could not help but swallow their saliva. The vines danced without flowers, and the sea of insects trekked among the flowers. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 143. It was almost midnight under the night sky. The chill of late autumn had already climbed up and constantly stimulated the water vapor in the air, forming a faint cold mist. Everyone felt their throats tighten as they watched the endless sea of flowers collide with the endless insect tide and kill to their heart's content. However, the people in Millstone Town suddenly felt their tense nerves loosen up. At least the sea of flowers and the insect tide were now in a deadlock, allowing everyone to finally have a chance to breathe. The Extreme Guild Club's quartet looked at Red Thorn's Ortet standing beside Lin Yuan and then at Lin Yuan. They could not help but feel that Lin Yuan was simply a boy of surprise. Every time at a critical juncture, Lin Yuan would always be able to stand up, be it the previous reconnaissance phase that could recover spiritual power, or the frontline healers by himself. Just as everyone was about to be unable to hold on, he summoned a strange plant species Fei and controlled the insect tide's advancement. Xian sensed the Ortet beside Lin Yuan's hand. Xian could feel that this 2-meter-tall strange plant that she had never heard of before did not have a high grade. It only had bronze combat power. However, this plant phase ability was simply too powerful. It looked like it was specially born to control this insect tide. However, Xian, who had participated in the S tournament, did not think so. Looking at the normal child ramets in this sea of flowers and the elite ramets beside red thorns or tet, Xianing deeply felt the terror of Lin Yuan's plant Fei. If this plant Fei's grade reached diamond, then what kind of lethality would the platinum ramets and countless gold child ramets have? If that was really the case, wouldn't this Fei alone be able to resist a class 3 insect tide? Lin Yuan did not know what Xianing was thinking. In fact, if he knew, he would have smiled bitterly. Lin Yuan was not having an easy time now. Red Thorn was constantly releasing spores from the flesh-like petals at the top of the mouth of Relinquish, which was actually consuming Lin Yuan's spiritual power. Lin Yuan was already a little overwhelmed, so he quietly activated the Spirit Qi imprint on his back. The spiritual power stored in the Spirit Qi imprint was supporting Red Thorn to constantly release spores, making the Sea of Flowers even more prosperous. It was all thanks to Blackie's exclusive skill, Spirit Qi imprint. Otherwise, even if Red Thorn had such an ability, Lin Yuan's body's spiritual power wouldn't be able to support it. Another point was that if Red Thorn's spores wanted to grow into child ramets, it would require a large amount of flesh energy. It was also thanks to the alien insects that everyone had killed that the spores released by Red Thorn could quickly form a sea of flowers. However, Xianing was right about one thing. If Red Thorn really reached diamond, it would have a large number of insect corpses and sufficient spirit qi in Lin Yuan's body. The sea of flowers formed by red thorn spores could really defend against a class 3 insect tide by itself. When Xianing saw Lin Yuan's figure standing by the sea of flowers, she knew that this youth had a bright future. Xianing narrowed her eyes and said to the people behind her, "Everyone who still has the ability to kill rank alien insects, follow me." Xianing could already see that this sea of flowers might be able to control those alien insects that were below normal, and could even be in a stalemate with normal alien insects. However, if they encountered elite alien insects, these elite alien insects would start to struggle in the sea of flowers. The barbs on the vines of red thorns child ramets might be able to pierce the carapace of the elite alien insects. In fact, the barbs on the vines could even tear open a hole in the carapace of the elite alien insects, causing corrosive insect blood to flow out with strong acid. However, the struggle of these elite alien insects would easily tear off the vines of the child ramets and even crush the child ramets. Therefore, to these elite alien insects, the sea of flowers wasn't considered very useful. However, under the attack of a large number of child ramets, the elite alien insects would still perish. However, to those rank alien insects, the sea of flowers was even less useful. The Class 2 alien insects had silver power, and when they rampaged in the Sea of Flowers, they would soon destroy a large area of the Sea of Flowers. Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, and Tan Ran led the other two Spirit Qi professionals with gold phase to kill all the Class 1 or Class 2 alien insects that were wreaking havoc in the Sea of Flowers. When they encountered some elite alien insects, they would also kill them. This would undoubtedly reduce the pressure on Red Thorn to spit out a large number of spores to nurture the Sea of Flowers. It was also the same as reducing the consumption of spiritual power in Lin Yuan's body. In fact, the degree of damage to the Sea of Flowers was considered a small matter in the current situation. There were simply too many normal and low-grade alien insects that were not even normal, and they were potential nutrients for the growth of Red Thorn's child ramets. Some of the earliest batch of child ramets had already grown close to 1 meter tall. In terms of body size, they were almost at the ramets level, and such child ramets' combat power was already just a trace away from elite. Such child ramets didn't even need to attack with vines when fighting against normal alien insects. They just needed the flowers on the digestive cavity to spin open and reveal the sharp teeth inside to easily devour these normal alien insects. The large amount of acid in the digestive cavity could also quickly digest the devoured alien insects. After turning the devoured alien insects into energy, a portion of the energy would be given to Red Thorn's mother ramets. The other portion would be absorbed by the child ramets themselves and become stronger. At the same time, Red Thorn's mother ramets still didn't stop spitting out spores, and these spores were still continuing to expand the Sea of Flowers advantage. While these spores were expanding the Sea of Flowers advantage, they would also rapidly replenish the damaged parts of the Sea of Flowers. Because these child ramets' rhizomes were all interconnected, even if some places where the Sea of Flowers killed fewer alien insects, the nutrients would be perfectly shared with these rhizomes. If Red Thorn encountered some Class 1 alien insects that wantonly destroyed the Sea of Flowers, it would also rapidly mobilize its energy. It would transmit the energy to the large number of child ramets near that Class 1 alien insect, and these child ramets would rapidly absorb the energy transmitted by Red Thorn's mother ramets to grow into elite ramets. Red Thorn was already at bronze, so the ramets were also at elite. A large number of ramets would surround and kill the Class 1 alien insects and devour them to offset the consumed energy. In the stalemate between the Sea of Flowers and the insect tide, the Sea of Flowers still had the upper hand. The Sea of Flowers' nutrients came from the insect tide, but the insect tide was unable to replenish any nutrients from the Sea of Flowers. However, there were simply too many alien insects. Even if these alien insects were devoured one after another by the Sea of Flowers, there would still be countless alien insects rushing over. The Sea of Flowers vines danced, and the alien insects hissed. This stalemate had almost been close to an hour. This kind of stalemate was actually the best thing that could happen to everyone at the moment. Such a stalemate could give the injured people and their contracted phase time to recuperate. These injured combat class spirit chi professionals and phase were still waiting for the healing type spirit chi professionals to heal. Lin Yuan's Spirit Gather Goldfish was no longer injecting spirit chi into Lu Pinru. Instead, it was replenishing the exhausted spiritual power in the healing type spirit chi professionals' bodies. It allowed these healing type spirit chi professionals to have spirit chi to urge their phase to release abilities and heal these combat class spirit chi professionals that were alternating between old and new injuries. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 144. This stalemate lasted for another half an hour. All of a sudden, an alien insect that looked like a glowing green object at night appeared at the edge of the Sea of Flowers. This glowing green alien insect was the second Class 3 alien insect that appeared among the 3 Class 3 alien insects in the insect tide, the acid tapeworm. When everyone saw the acid tapeworm appear, they heaved a sigh of relief and had solemn expressions. Previously, when killing the Class 1 and Class 2 alien insects in the insect tide, every combat class spirit chi professional with a gold fey needed to be extremely vigilant. They carefully observed the movements of the alien insects around them. This was because they did not know which alien insect the third Class 3 alien insect, the heart-penetrating iron line, was residing in and would launch a sudden attack. Now that the acid tapeworm had appeared, it meant that only the Class 3 alien insect, the heart-penetrating iron line, had not appeared. Everyone retreated to the defensive position and was preparing to deal with the acid tapeworm together. As a Class 3 alien insect, the acid tapeworm's defense was not strong and could not even compare to a Class 1 alien insect. However, the acid tapeworm was a very terrifying existence because of the green acidic liquid in its body. When the acidic liquid was spat out, the damage it caused could even corrode sand. Even a gold fey would have a large piece of flesh instantly melted when it came into contact with a little bit of this acidic liquid. If a gold fey came into contact with too much of the acidic liquid, it would even cause damage to its roots. Just as Xian Ying, Zhang Xiaobai, Tan Ran, the Millstone Town Guild Alliance branch president, and the burly man from outside were preparing to attack the acid tapeworm, Red Thorn suddenly became excited. When Lin Yuan sensed Red Thorn's sudden excitement and intense emotional fluctuations, he quickly understood the reason for its excitement. It felt like Red Thorn had seen something it liked to eat. The leaf-shaped diamond face storage box that the Moon Empress had given Lin Yuan contained a large amount of dimensional lifeforms' flesh. As Red Thorn ate these different types of dimensional lifeforms' flesh, it slowly developed a picky eating habit. According to Lin Yuan's observations, Red Thorn preferred to eat dimensional lifeforms' flesh that contained a lot of acid in their blood. Among them, the flesh of alien insects and abyss lifeforms was the most acidic. The acid tapeworm's carcass could be found in the leaf-shaped face storage box. Red Thorn had always been drooling over the Class 3 acid sac insect's flesh, but Lin Yuan didn't let it eat it. Previously, Red Thorn was only an elite. It was very likely that it wouldn't be able to digest the level 3 acid tapeworm. Instead, it would be injured by the acid tapeworm's powerful acid. When Red Thorn saw the acid tapeworm, the vine wrapped around Lin Yuan's wrist shook in a flattering manner. It was like a pitiful puppy wagging its tail when it saw delicious food. Lin Yuan looked at the acid tapeworm at the edge of the Sea of Flowers and nodded. When Red Thorn had been at elite, Lin Yuan had only fed it the flesh of silver dimensional lifeforms. Now that Red Thorn had reached bronze, it shouldn't be a problem for it to eat some gold dimensional lifeforms' flesh. Red Thorn's roots that were stabbed into the ground suddenly erupted with powerful energy. This energy wave made Lin Yuan feel as though the ground beneath his feet was forming a layer of air waves. This energy was the energy that the child rabbits had absorbed from devouring the large amount of alien insects' flesh and blood. Red Thorn transferred all this energy to the child rabbits at the acid tapeworm's feet. Those child rabbits that received Red Thorn's energy grew rapidly, and they quickly grew into rabbits that were 1.5 meters tall. These 1.5 meter tall rabbits were at the pinnacle of the elite tier. This was the current limit of the rabbits grown from Red Thorn's spores. There were nearly 100 pinnacle of elite rabbits that were 1.5 meters tall that were produced by Red Thorn's large amount of energy. At that moment, nearly 100 pinnacle of elite rabbits that were 1.5 meters tall waved their barbed vines and swept toward the acid tapeworm. At that moment, the acid tapeworm sensed the attack and was about to spit out its acid. Lin Yuan raised his hand and circulated the spiritual power in the spirit chi imprint to release the blue flash purple butterfly's ability, Silent Scale Powder. When the silent scale powder landed on the acid tapeworm's body, it effectively stopped the acid tapeworm from spitting acid. In fact, the acid tapeworm's acid would not be silenced by the silent scale powder, as it did not need to communicate with the spirit chi of heaven and earth. It just released the acid in its body. However, the blue flash purple butterfly's exclusive skill, Scale Powder Halo, did a great job. The scale powder reflected the green light emitted from the acid tapeworm's body, causing light pollution that made the acid tapeworm feel dizzy for a short period of time. What Lin Yuan wanted was the short period of dizziness caused by the scale powder halo. While the acid tapeworm was dizzy, the pinnacle of elite rabbits wrapped around the acid tapeworm's body. The barbed vines pierced through the acid tapeworm's skin, which was not strong. The vines firmly fixed on the acid tapeworm's body and pulled forcefully, dragging the acid tapeworm from the edge of the sea of flowers into the sea of flowers. The acid tapeworm's translucent skin, which was not strong to begin with, was torn apart by the pinnacle of elite rabbits that Red Thorn had produced. A large amount of green acid sprayed out. When the acid landed on the child rabbits in the sea of flowers, any child rabbits that were not at normal would be corroded and withered as soon as they came into contact with the acid. Normal child rabbits would not be able to last long before turning yellow and gradually being corroded clean. However, any rabbits that had reached the elite tier would be able to withstand the corrosive acid. In fact, being able to withstand this acid was because Red Thorn had absorbed a large amount of alien insect flesh and had already developed a great resistance to the acid in the alien insect's blood. Moreover, Red Thorn's body's super-strong digestive fluid was evolved from consuming a large amount of acidic dimensional lifeform's flesh. The elite rabbits spun open the rose-shaped flowers on the digestive cavity, revealing dense rows of sharp teeth. The sharp teeth immediately bit through the acid tapeworm's skin, and the digestive cavity pierced into the acid tapeworm's body. It began to rapidly absorb the acid tapeworm's body's acid. Then, it offered all the energy to Red Thorn's ortet. During the process of the rabbits devouring the acid from the acid tapeworm's body, Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish was gradually becoming more acidic according to the rabbits' offerings. The Class 3 alien insect was completely killed by Lin Yuan's silent scale powder and Red Thorn's wave of attacks. In fact, he had been able to kill the Class 3 acid tapeworm mainly because he had used the control ability, silent scale powder, to catch them off guard. The sea of flowers had already begun its attack. And the weak defense of the acid sac worms. Everyone was shocked by Lin Yuan's operation. This was a Class 3 alien insect that was comparable to a gold fay. Tan Ran couldn't help murmuring. This Lin Yuan is the legendary social elite, right? Zhang Xiaobai scratched his head and asked when he heard Tan Ran's words. Tan Ran, what is a social elite? Xianing looked at Zhang Xiaobai's silly look and rolled her eyes. Don't you know what a social elite is? A social elite is a person who gathers all the people in society, compress, refine, filter, compress, refine, and filter many times. Zhang Xiaobai was dumbfounded when he heard Xianying's explanation and blurted out. Isn't that scum? 166 Reading Network. Chapter 145. It was unknown if Zhang Xiaobai's brain circuit was strange or if he was deliberately teasing everyone. In any case, the nervous mood of the people below Millstone Town city wall had suddenly dispersed. Apart from Xianying, everyone was laughing heartily. Xianying felt that her fist was itching again. At that moment, a sudden change occurred. Zhang Xiaobai originally wanted to casually command the Silver Gale Clam to launch the normal ability, Gale Blade, to kill a Class 1 alien insect that was destroying the Sea of Flowers. When the gale blade struck the Class 1 alien insect, it should have split it into two. However, when the gale blade struck the Class 1 alien insect's body, it was like striking an iron plate. There was a crisp sound of metal clashing. At that moment, a 2-meter-long black iron wire suddenly shot out of the Class 1 alien insect's body and went straight for Zhang Xiaobai's heart. Zhang Xiaobai wasn't considered far from this Class 1 alien insect. It was less than 15 meters away, and the heart-penetrating iron line arrived in the blink of an eye. When Lin Yuan heard that crisp duong sound, he knew that something was wrong. He hurriedly and subconsciously urged Red Thorn to grow a large number of elite ramets in front of Zhang Xiaobai. However, these elite ramets only caused the heart-penetrating iron line's attack to pause for a moment. They didn't stop the heart-penetrating iron line's thrusting figure. This was because Red Thorn had produced 6 elite ramets from 15 meters away. The digestive cavity of these 6 elite ramets had a bowl-sized hole caused by the heart-penetrating iron line. However, the pause caused by Lin Yuan's heart-penetrating iron line gave Zhang Xiaobai some time to react. In addition, Xueqi had also recovered and pounced over. In her shock and anger, Xueqi unleashed almost all the strength in her body into this claw attack. The sharp claw struck the heart-penetrating iron line's body, and there was a metallic sound. It was also thanks to Xueqi's all-out attack that the heart-penetrating iron line's trajectory was deviated, allowing the heart-penetrating iron line, which was originally heading for Zhang Xiaobai's heart, to shoot toward another point. However, the heart-penetrating iron line immediately twisted its body in the air and forcefully changed its direction, continuing to pierce Zhang Xiaobai. However, due to Zhang Xiaobai's dodge, the heart-penetrating iron line didn't accurately penetrate Zhang Xiaobai's heart. Instead, it penetrated Zhang Xiaobai's shoulder bone. When the heart-piercing iron line pierced through the shoulder bone, it twisted slightly and tied the iron wire-like body together. After the heart-penetrating iron line brushed past Zhang Xiaobai, his arm fell to the ground. Zhang Xiaobai. Brother Xiaobai, your hand. Zhang Xiaobai. Woo woo woo. This sudden turn of events caused everyone to be stunned. Had Lin Yuan and Xueqi not been fast enough, Zhang Xiaobai's heart would have been pierced by the heart-penetrating iron line and turned into a lifeless corpse. However, even if Lin Yuan and Xueqi reacted fast enough, Zhang Xiaobai still could not save his hand. What Zhang Xiaobai lost was not just his hand, but his entire arm, including his shoulder blade. Zhang Xiaobai's face was already pale from the pain, and he was covered in cold sweat. His other hand, which was not broken, covered the wound tightly, but a large amount of blood still spurted out from the wound. Even the 10 fingers were connected to the heart, let alone an entire arm. The heart-wrenching pain made Zhang Xiaobai's vision turn black, and he almost fell to the ground. However, before Zhang Xiaobai's vision turned black, another violent pain made Zhang Xiaobai's body tremble. It was as though he could not even use his strength to cover the wound. Xueqi had always had a strong style, but when she saw Zhang Xiaobai's suddenly severed arm, she knelt on the ground in a daze. She didn't even blink her eyes, but her tears continued to fall down her cheeks. From the moment Zhang Xiaobai's entire arm was severed, Xueqi knew that Zhang Xiaobai's life was over. Even if this insect tide was safely passed, Zhang Xiaobai's hand would probably not be healed. The core of the Extreme Guild Club's S-Tournament's official team was the Radiance 100 sequence number 18's White Devil. Xueqi knew that even White Devil did not have the ability to regrow a severed limb. There were very few healing-type spirit chi professionals in the Radiance Federation, and there were even fewer high-ranked healing-type spirit chi professionals. Even if the Extreme Guild Club invited a king-class healing-type spirit chi professional, they might not be able to regrow Zhang Xiaobai's severed arm. The standard to be called a king-class expert was to have at least one fantasy breed Fey and reach A-rank spirit chi professional. Only such an expert could be called a king-class expert. King-class experts were no longer simply the spirit chi professional's grade or the Fey's strength. They were both considered together. For example, some spirit chi professionals had reached A rank but did not have a fantasy breed Fey. Under such circumstances, they could not be called king-class experts. Some prodigies, such as the Radiance 100 sequence members, had fantasy breed Feys, but their spirit chi professionals were not at A rank. Similarly, they could not be called king-class experts. King-class experts were considered true experts in the Radiance Federation, and such experts were not easy to invite. Moreover, king-class healing-type spirit chi professionals were still the rarest among king-class experts. In the Radiance Federation, the ratio of combat class spirit chi professionals to healing type spirit chi professionals had always been about 150:1. At the king class level, the ratio of combat class spirit chi professionals to healing type spirit chi professionals was not so exaggerated. However, king class healing type spirit chi professionals were still less than 1/20th of king class combat class spirit chi professionals. It was just like the Extreme Guild Club's S Tournament's core, White Devil. According to true combat strength, White Devil would not be ranked in the top 30. The reason why White Devil was ranked 18th in the Radiance 100 sequence was that she was a healing type spirit chi professional. A healing type spirit chi professional's strategic significance was far greater than combat significance. Furthermore, even if a king class healing type spirit chi professional was invited, each king class healing type spirit chi professional would have different fantasy breed fays. Every healing type fantasy breed fae had different abilities and exclusive skills, and the healing aspect was also different. Some healing type king class experts were adept at detoxification, while others were adept at healing spiritual injuries. However, in the Radiance Federation, Xueqi had never heard of a king class healing type expert's fantasy breed fae that could regenerate severed limbs. Moreover, even if there was such a king class healing type spirit chi professional, the Extreme Guild Club would have to pay a huge price. Would they really be able to invite such a king-class healing-type professional over? Tan Ran and Lu Pinru were currently attacking the heart-penetrating iron line, which had been seriously injured by Xueqi's all-out attack. However, Tan Ran and Lu Pinru looked at Zhang Xiaobai with indescribable worry. Finally, Tan Ran roared. Lava hippopotamus, use lava bomb. A ball of boiling lava fireball shot out of the lava hippopotamus mouth and smashed onto the already seriously injured heart-penetrating iron line. The heart-penetrating iron line burned and turned into charcoal. Tan Ran's voice had a sobbing tone, while Lu Pinru's eyes were also red. Zhang Xiaobai's teeth were chattering in pain as he watched Xueqi kneeling on the ground and crying because of him. Zhang Xiaobai struggled to pull up the corners of his mouth and revealed a simple and honest smile. Xueqi, my arm is broken, and I might be disabled in the future. Will you support me? Baidu immediately read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 146. Zhang Xiaobai originally wanted to be mischievous and stop Xueqi from crying. However, he did not expect Xueqi to cry even harder. Zhang Xiaobai was shocked and hurriedly said, Don't cry. I don't need you to raise me. Look at how scared you are. Xueqi stood up and rushed over without a care for anything, hugging Zhang Xiaobai. Xueqi's action caused Zhang Xiaobai to grimace in pain. At that moment, Zhang Xiaobai heard Xueqi say softly, I'll raise you for the rest of your life. Actually, my Star Web Card's password has been your birthday since a long time ago. Zhang Xiaobai was already numb from the pain. The severe pain and massive blood loss made him unable to stand. If not for Xueqi's support, Zhang Xiaobai would have fallen to the ground. However, after hearing Xueqi's soft words, Zhang Xiaobai's face, which was pale from the pain, had a little color. He felt that his broken arm was not so painful anymore. The president of Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch was standing at the side, but he did not know what to say. He was a young elite, a youth from the reserve team of the B-level Guild Club's S tournament team. In order to protect the dimensional rift that had suddenly opened in Millstone Town, he had become a cripple for the rest of his life. Many spirit chi professionals who were fighting alongside Zhang Xiaobai in Millstone Town were also red-eyed. Everyone's killing speed of the alien insects had more than doubled, venting all their respect and worry on the insect tide. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and stopped supplying spiritual power to Red Thorn. As Lin Yuan stopped supplying spiritual power, the flesh-like flower on Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish no longer spewed out new spores. Lin Yuan looked at the flourishing sea of flowers in front of him. This flourishing sea of flowers was enough to resist the alien insects. A large number of child ramets had already evolved into elite ramets after devouring the alien insects' flesh and blood. In such a massive sea of elite ramets, the insect tide that had lost the Class 3 alien insects no longer needed more spores to expand the sea of flowers. Lin Yuan sensed that the spirit chi in the spirit chi imprint was almost depleted and looked at the people fighting. Then, he looked at Zhang Xiaobai, who had a broken arm. Without any hesitation, he took a deep breath and activated the Jasmine Lily's exclusive skill, Recovery Imprint, which he had never activated before. In an instant, as he activated the recovery imprint, a jasmine lily totem pattern appeared on his forehead. The jasmine lily totem bloomed with light on Lin Yuan's forehead. The massive healing ability of the recovery imprint was transmitted into the fantasy breed jasmine lily's body. In an instant, the jasmine lily bloomed with the light of recovery. Lin Yuan burned all the remaining spiritual power in the spirit qi imprint. All the flower heads of the fantasy breed jasmine lily sprayed healing green light at the same time, releasing the massive amount of healing energy accumulated in the recovery imprint. The green light spots formed by the heal ability were directly transmitted to the bodies of every spirit qi professional present. Since everyone present was severely exhausted, whether it was physically or mentally, being immersed in the healing green light was like having a pleasant dream. The green speck of light was neither bright nor resplendent, but the warm speck of light contained a majestic life force. It was like a firefly flying out of the wind and dew at the end of the green duckweed's life. The firefly twirled and danced gracefully, giving the spirit qi professionals, who were suffering from new and old injuries, the most intimate comfort in the beautiful dream that they were immersed in. No matter how severe the injuries were, the healing light spots would circulate, and after a moment, all the injuries on the body would be healed. Even their mental state would almost reach its peak state. It was also at this moment Lin Yuan controlled the fantasy breed jasmine lily's topmost flower head to shoot out a thumb-thick green light. The green light drilled into Zhang Xiaobai's body like a spirit snake, causing him to feel much less pain. Being nourished by this surging life force, Zhang Xiaobai felt his weakness and fatigue being swept away. All of a sudden, Zhang Xiaobai felt an extremely itchy feeling coming from the broken part of his shoulder and arm. Zhang Xiaobai turned his head and stared with wide eyes. Because Zhang Xiaobai found that his arm was regrowing. Everyone present, including Xian Ying, was stunned by the miraculous scene in front of them. This was the credit of the exclusive skill that Lin Yuan's jasmine lily had awakened when it evolved into a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan knew that the fantasy breed jasmine lily's exclusive skill, severed limbs, could regrow severed limbs. However, he did not expect that it would consume so much healing energy and spiritual power to regrow an arm. After Zhang Xiaobai's arm was completely regenerated, Lin Yuan realized that there was no healing energy left in the recovery imprint that he had accumulated for several months. The spirit qi in Lin Yuan's body was also completely depleted. If it were not for red thorn's vine still supporting his wrist, he would probably not be able to stand now. At that moment, a ray of dawn had appeared in the gray night sky. This sudden ray of dawn instantly blasted the outline of the distant mountain, dispelling the cold of the late autumn night, and also dispelling a corner of this dark night. A ray of dawn shone on a youth wearing a silver mask. The youth's figure was in a somewhat sorry state due to the exhaustion of spirit qi. The youth's figure contrasted with a large sea of flowers next to him, and the insect tide that was still surging into the sea of flowers. This ray of dawn elongated the youth's figure and also lit up a miracle outside Millstone Town under the dome. This miracle was created by a youth, and it belonged to this youth and every spirit qi professional fighting outside Millstone Town. At the same time, this miracle also belonged to Hui Yao. This miracle made everyone in Millstone Town look at the youth wearing a silver mask in front of them in a daze. Their eyes were filled with amazement, gratitude, reverence, and that trace of unconcealable fanaticism. This endless sea of flowers and the thousands of green lights of redemption were engraved in the minds of every spirit qi professional in Millstone Town. At that moment, Zhang Xiaobai suddenly rushed toward Lin Yuan and shouted, "Black! You're really my lucky star." Zhang Xiaobai was undoubtedly the most agitated person at that moment. Zhang Xiaobai, whose entire arm had been cut off, had recognized the reality and helplessly accepted his fate. Zhang Xiaobai, whose entire arm had been amputated, recognized reality the moment his arm was amputated. He had already resigned himself to his fate. However, he did not expect Lin Yuan to actually regenerate his arm. This was undoubtedly a grace of rebirth. To Zhang Xiaobai, this was a miracle that saved the rest of his life. When Zhang Xiaobai rushed over, Red Thorn immediately got into an attack state. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan hurriedly stopped Red Thorn's actions. Lin Yuan originally thought that he would receive the impact of Zhang Xiaobai's bear hug, but who would have thought that the other 3 members of the Extreme Guild Club would also rush over at that moment? Xian Ying's eyes were filled with tears, but her smile was unusually bright. She looked at Zhang Xiaobai's regenerated arm, and a salty teardrop slid down the side of her nose. The only difference was that her tears were not tears of sorrow, but tears of joy and joy. The trio and Zhang Xiaobai had long seen that Lin Yuan's spiritual power was overdrawn and was trying his best to hold on. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran gave Lin Yuan a gentle hug from all sides so that he did not have to support his spiritual power overdrawn body alone. This hug was especially warm in the cool autumn dawn. This was a hug that belonged to comrades who had experienced life and death together. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 147. Everyone in Millstone Town felt the joy of surviving a calamity and winning to their heart's content. The insect tide, which was still surging into the Sea of Flowers, was no longer a threat to Millstone Town. With a large number of elite ramets in the Sea of Flowers, no matter how many alien insects came, they were just adding fertilizer and nutrients to the Sea of Flowers. Moreover, everyone in Millstone Town had reached their best state under Lin Yuan's fantasy breed Jasmine Lily's healing. Even if those Class 1 and Class 2 alien insects struggled in the Sea of Flowers, they would soon be killed in an orderly manner. Just as the insect tide was stabilized, the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box hanging on Lin Yuan's chest, a small red spider that seemed to be one with the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box jumped up. It leaped into the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift in the sky. Just as the Mother of Bloodbath leaped toward the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift, the Mother of Bloodbath sent a voice transmission to Lin Yuan. "Not bad, kid. You're indeed the Moon Empress disciple. Since you withstood the insect tide, I'll go get the source-type item in this dimensional rift for you. Count it as my reward." The Mother of Bloodbath had actually been prepared to save Lin Yuan in the insect tide when everyone was devoured and dispersed. After all, in the Mother of Bloodbath's eyes, the insect tide from the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift was not something that these 1,000 stragglers could resist. As Lin Yuan's path protector, the Mother of Bloodbath wanted to let Lin Yuan understand through this matter that no matter what, he should not easily put himself in danger. This was also the Mother of Bloodbath's way of survival that was engraved in its bones as a fae. Faes lived in nature and faced all kinds of threats at all times when they were young. A little carelessness could cause them to lose their lives. Life was the foundation of everything. If one lost their life, there was no need to talk about anything else. How could Lin Yuan not know the principle of a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall? But sometimes, some beliefs must be persisted. Moreover, Lin Yuan knew that he still had the Mother of Bloodbath as a trump card. In fact, the Mother of Bloodbath's prediction was not wrong, but it had not considered a variable like Lin Yuan. He had actually used his strength to teach the suzerain/myth-eye Mother of Bloodbath a lesson. The Mother of Bloodbath had long seen that Lin Yuan's red thorn was a bronze source-type life form that had grown from a source seed. The healing-type fae that healed everyone was also a silver fantasy breed fae. However, the Mother of Bloodbath did not directly attribute all this to Lin Yuan. Instead, it tacitly regarded it as the Moon Empress trump card for her disciple. The Mother of Bloodbath did not expect that not even the Moon Empress was aware of Lin Yuan's strength. These were the results of Lin Yuan's growth step by step by relying on his own ability. When the Mother of Bloodbath headed for the pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift, Lin Yuan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Yuan quickly asked Blackie to release its ability, Spirit Injection, on him. After Blackie executed the Spirit Injection, Lin Yuan finally got rid of the powerless feeling of spiritual power exhaustion in his body. Zhang Xiaobai laughed at this moment and patted Lin Yuan's shoulder as he said casually, "It's daybreak now, and a few hours have passed since the dimensional rift opened. Even if Millstone Town is located in a remote area, Ascending Dragon City should have already noticed it. Therefore, the Ascending Dragon Guard should be here soon to clean up this pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift." Tan Ran also took a deep breath and said, "We can finally put down our burdens." Xianing looked at Zhang Xiaobai's strange smile and felt her fists itch again. He directly gave Zhang Xiaobai a heavy punch, causing Zhang Xiaobai to rub his stomach and say with grievance, Hey, you stinky sister. Didn't you say you would support me before? Tell me. Say it. When did you change your Star Web card's password to my birthday? Why didn't I know about this?" Xianing didn't expect her whisper to be shouted out by Zhang Xiaobai as if he had a screw loose. She was so angry that she automatically grasped the fatal rhythm when she punched out. Zhang Xiaobai was beaten until he screamed and shouted for help. When Xianing threw out a heavy punch, her face secretly lit up with a red glow, completely red. Tan Ran could not help but sigh. Big brother Xiaobai always provokes big sister Xianing. Does big brother Zhang Xiaobai like the feeling of pain and happiness? When Lu Pinru heard Tan Ran's words, she felt a little helpless. It seemed that she could not let Tan Ran and Zhang Xiaobai browse Star Web and read those strange books in the future. However, after surviving a calamity, Lu Pinru made a rare joke. Tan Ran, if you want to experience the feeling of pain and happiness, I can lock you in my wardrobe. Tan Ran? Lin Yuan put on a handsome and puzzled expression. Zhang Xiaobai, who was rubbing his stomach, shouted when he heard Lu Pinru's words. Lu Pinru, you can't hide liking someone? Lu Pinru? Because even if you hide it in the wardrobe, your future husband can still find it. Lu Pinru? Tan Ran? Lin Yuan? Xianing rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. It seems that I hit you too lightly. Zhang Xiaobai, don't run if you're capable. Lu Pinru wiped off the sweat on her forehead, which she had not had time to wipe off during the previous battle. It's all thanks to you this time, Black. If it weren't for you, none of us would have survived. Lu Pinru spoke very solemnly as she looked at the insect tide, which was still blocked by the sea of flowers, and the smiling people in Millstone Town. Lin Pinru was very glad that Lin Yuan had applied to form a temporary team with the four of them, and they had also included him in the team. At that moment, the Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift, which was still falling from the alien insects, suddenly distorted. The sky, which was originally broken like a mirror, returned to normal under this distortion. The dark red Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift also completely disappeared under this distortion as if it had never appeared. At that moment, a 1 centimeter-sized red spider that looked like it was carved out of crystal had once again appeared on Lin Yuan's leaf-shaped face storage box just before the dimensional rift disappeared. The Mother of Bloodbath's strange but very pleasant voice sounded, but it seemed to have a hint of contempt for Lin Yuan. The source-type item in this Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift is really a stroke of luck for you to actually have such a compatible source-type item. However, this source-type item is not for you, but for the plant produced by your source seed. The Mother of Bloodbath smacked its lips and felt as sour as if it had eaten a cart of green lemons. Lin Yuan chuckled. This kind of praise for Lin Yuan could come as many times as he wanted. It was simply too satisfying. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 148. There was undoubtedly a variety of source-type items in dimensional rifts. There was no exact strength or weakness of source-type items in terms of ability. It was only suitable or unsuitable, or how one wanted to develop it in the future. Just like the source seed that Lin Yuan had used to nurture Red Thorn, it had once been recognized by the Radiance Federation scholars as one of the most useless source-type items. However, in Lin Yuan's hands, Red Thorn had perfectly blocked this Pinnacle Class 1 insectide based on its exclusive skill at bronze. There were too many types of source-type items, and it had only been over 100 years since the Radiance Federation's Spirit Chi awakening. Although many dimensional rifts had opened, there were still a large number of source-type items that still maintained their uniqueness. Every Spirit Chi professional's Fey combination and choice of route were different. Therefore, it also required a lot of luck to find a suitable source-type item among the random appearance of the dimensional rift. Fey's contracts all needed to rely on the Spirit Chi professional's spiritual energy, but source seeds were not necessarily the same. Although there was a difference in strength between each person's mental power, there was also a limit to it. The source seed contract might not occupy spiritual energy to a large extent. This was undoubtedly equivalent to having an additional contract position for Feys. In such a situation, for people like Lin Yuan, whose spiritual energy was almost completely occupied by the contracted Morbius, source-type items that might not occupy spiritual energy were undoubtedly an excellent choice. However, source seeds that did not occupy spiritual energy might also have more stringent requirements. For example, Chen Rui's spine goo needed to penetrate a section of the spine and damage the contractor's body's roots. Source-type items were so precious that even the Star Web's treasure pavilion rarely circulated. This was because even if any source-type item was not suitable for them, most experts with source-type items would choose to keep them and not choose to sell them easily. This was because, apart from personally going to the Dimensional Rift to retrieve source-type items, The only way was to go to the Radiance Federation's officials to exchange for merits. Private transactions of source-type items were mostly barter, using source-type items to exchange for source-type items. As for going to the Dimensional Rift to personally retrieve source-type items, it was not easy to do. When the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift opened, only 3 Class 3 alien insects descended from the insect tide due to the Dimensional Rift's energy. However, there would definitely be plenty of Class 3 alien insects in a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift. The reason why the insect sea was constantly surging out of the Dimensional Rift was that a large portion of them were being squeezed out by the other alien insects inside. It was imaginable how dangerous this Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift was. Only a suzerain/myth I Fae like the Mother of Bloodbath could extract source-type life forms from a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift so easily. Otherwise, even King-class experts would need to form at least a small team to completely conquer the world inside the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift and retrieve the source-type item. Lin Yuan did not check why the source-type item that the Mother of Bloodbath had taken out of the Alien Insect Dimensional Rift had been deemed suitable. Instead, he placed the source-type item, which looked like a translucent thumb-sized insect egg, in the Diamond Fae storage box. He felt that this was not a good time to study this newly obtained source-type item. At that moment, many sharp cries suddenly came from the horizon, which sounded like the sound of large flying fays. Soon, the sharp chirping sound was getting closer and closer. Lin Yuan looked over and recognized that these flying gold fays were blade-winged feather eagles. On the back of each gold blade-winged feather eagle stood a spirit chi professional with armor engraved with dragon species fey patterns. These people who had suddenly rushed over on the blade-winged feather eagles were the Ascending Dragon Guards under the famous City Lord of Ascending Dragon City. At that moment, the Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift in the sky had already disappeared, and there would be no new alien insects appearing. The remaining alien insects were like stagnant water without a source. They were devoured by the Sea of Flowers and could no longer be replenished. Soon, most of these alien insects disappeared. When the Ascending Dragon Guards saw the Sea of Flowers devouring the insect tide in Millstone Town, they could not help but open their mouths wide. In particular, the leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards felt that the scene in front of him was unreal. However, when he saw this intact Millstone Town, he could not help but burst into laughter. His laughter was filled with the relief of his worries dissipating. When the Ascending Dragon Guards had received the news that a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift had opened outside of Millstone Town, they had immediately assembled 2 large groups to rescue Millstone Town without any delay. However, when they had arrived, the Ascending Dragon Guards had all wanted their gold blade-winged feather eagles to fly faster. A Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift was not to be trifled with. They had originally thought that Millstone Town might have become the alien insects' paradise, but when they arrived, they realized that Millstone Town had been protected in perfect condition. However, the Ascending Dragon Guards were rather curious about where the Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift in the sky had gone. If they had not seen the traces of the battle outside of Millstone Town, the Ascending Dragon Guards would not have believed that a Pinnacle Class 1 Dimensional Rift had opened here. However, the Ascending Dragon Guards did not really care about all this. After all, their objective was to rescue Millstone Town. As for the subsequent matters, the other departments of Ascending Dragon City would handle them. When the leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards saw the current situation, he could not help but rub his big bald head. The rescue mission in Millstone Town was probably going to be fruitless because the insectoid tide was almost completely devoured by the strange Sea of Flowers. Lin Yuan was undoubtedly the one who had benefited the most from this dimensional rift. Lin Yuan's gains did not just refer to the source-type item in the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift. Red Thorn's child Ramets and Ramets had almost devoured this insect tide and given Red Thorn a massive amount of flesh energy. It directly improved Red Thorn's quality. He had been suppressing Red Thorn's grade and letting it improve its quality first. After devouring the massive amount of flesh and blood energy, Red Thorn's grade had jumped from bronze normal to excellent and advanced to perfect. He saw that the Ascending Dragon City's Ascending Dragon Guards had taken over the situation outside Millstone Town. Lin Yuan knew that Red Thorn's Sea of Flowers was no longer useful. Lin Yuan ordered Red Thorn to get rid of the child Ramets and Ramets produced by the spores ejected from the spore cavity. When Red Thorn heard Lin Yuan's order, it immediately waved its roots and let the child Ramets and Ramets provide all the energy to itself. A large number of normal child Ramets and elite Ramets instantly withered, and all the energy was transferred to Red Thorn's body through the connected root network. In front of the Sea of Flowers that had instantly withered, Red Thorn's plant shook violently. Red Thorn's plant was shaking violently, and Lin Yuan could clearly feel that Red Thorn was growing stronger than before. The mouth of Relinquish had become even larger, and the bobs on the vines had become even sharper and longer. At this time, Red Thorn's quality had already evolved from perfect to epic. Almost all the insectoid tide from the pinnacle class one-dimensional rift had become sacrifices for Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish. The frenzied gifts from the insectoid tide had caused Red Thorn's quality to transform. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 149. Lin Yuan had been having a headache over the upgrade of Red Thorn's quality. He did not expect that this insect tide would actually solve this problem that had been troubling him for a long time. Since Bronze Red Thorn's quality had already reached epic, the only way to advance from epic to legendary was to devour the flesh and blood of dimensional creatures and work hard to accumulate. Although the passage of time was often untraceable, time could solve many problems by the passage of time. At that moment, Xianing suddenly whispered to Lin Yuan. The Ascending Dragon City's Ascending Dragon Guards are already in charge of the situation, and the Ascending Dragon Guards will be in charge of the Millstone Town's people. We should quickly slip away now. Otherwise, when the reporters from the Ascending Dragon City come to interview us, we won't be able to leave without a day or two. At this point, Xianing suddenly paused. Xianing didn't continue speaking because she knew she had made a slip of the tongue the moment she said it. To anyone, they had resisted a pinnacle level 1 insect horde and protected a small town by themselves. If he were to accept an interview on the Star Web, he would undoubtedly become famous and receive widespread attention. Xianing did not care about this because she felt that it was unwise to protect Millstone Town in such a situation. But it was a glorious choice. From Xianing's point of view, if she wanted to be famous, she had to improve her strength and show off her skills in the S tournament. Although Xianing, who understood the ways of the world, had already recognized Lin Yuan as a friend in her heart, she was a little embarrassed that she seemed to be unintentionally making decisions for Lin Yuan. Zhang Xiaobai didn't think of that. At that moment, she carelessly hugged Lin Yuan's shoulder and said, "Don't worry." "Ha ha ha, that's right. Let's go. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to." Xianing was just about to pull Zhang Xiaobai when she heard Lin Yuan's soft voice. "The endless forest is in front of us. Let's go." Our original plan was to collect the venom of the gold jade unicorn ice snake early in the morning. Lin Yuan's words were indifferent, but there was an indescribable refreshing and unrestrained feeling. Lin Yuan had never been a person who cared about fame and fortune. On the contrary, having lived 2 lifetimes, Lin Yuan looked at everything with a dialectical eye. Apart from the things that he truly cared about, everything else was very indifferent. Things like fame and fortune, in a world where strength reigns supreme. Although fame and fortune could not be equated with strength, having strength was almost equivalent to having fame and fortune. If strength was compared to a flower and fame was compared to a butterfly, then when the flower bloomed, the butterfly would naturally come. To Lin Yuan, the Radiance 100 sequence was his next best choice. Speaking with strength was the choice of a real man. Lin Yuan looked at the blazing sun that accompanied the dawn. The light emitted by the rising sun seemed to be even more dazzling than the scorching noon sun. At that moment, a slight spiritual fluctuation came from Lin Yuan's body. It was so subtle that even Zhang Xiaobai, who had put his hand on Lin Yuan's shoulder, did not feel it. At that moment, the Mother of Bloodbath, which was lying on the face storage box, moved slightly and felt its mouth sting even more. This kid is really lucky. He comprehended a willpower rune so quickly after sensing his own law rune. However, the Mother of Bloodbath immediately thought about it. Lin Yuan already had a fantasy breed Jasmine Lily, so this willpower rune should be the second one. The Mother of Bloodbath attributed the credit of Lin Yuan comprehending this willpower rune mainly to the moment when it became his path protector and let Lin Yuan feel its law rune energy. Of course, Lin Yuan's sudden comprehension of this willpower rune was indeed related to the Mother of Bloodbath's law rune he had felt at that time. However, if the Mother of Bloodbath knew that Lin Yuan had comprehended the 4th willpower rune, it would probably change its name to the Mother of Lemons out of jealousy. Lin Yuan's eyes seemed to rise with the clearest light of dawn, and this glowing willpower rune appeared in Lin Yuan's spiritual world. When he comprehended this willpower rune, Lin Yuan already had a preference. This willpower rune was very suitable for Xueqi. Lin Yuan looked at the rising sun in the morning, and the face behind the mask suddenly revealed a smile that no one could see but was enough to overshadow the blazing sun. He was a youth. In his weak state, he had always been stepping on the dust. He staggered, stood and ran. Whether it was struggling to survive at a low place or calmly at a high place. He had never forgotten the epiphany in his heart. At this moment, the dim light dispersed the last bit of dust in the broken footsteps. As for him, having lived 2 lives, he had always been unrestrained. When Xueqi, Zhang Xiaobai, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran heard his refreshing and carefree words, they could not help but smile. If they had a good impression of each other, they would become friends. They had experienced life and death together, and they were comrades in arms. In this kind of situation, if their interests were completely congenial, then they would be inseparable friends. Zhang Xiaobai gave Lin Yuan a thumbs up. Lin Yuan, you were so cool when you said that earlier. Upon seeing Zhang Xiaobai's comical movements with his fingers and his strange expression, Lin Yuan could not help but laugh. Is it cool? Perhaps. Actually, in Lin Yuan's heart, it was always the coolest to be his own people. Lin Pinru rolled his eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. Can you stop showing off the results of your Yen-E cram school? Xueqi looked at Zhang Xiaobai and felt really helpless. After last year's tournament, there was a 1-month vacation. She had wanted to go on a vacation with the team. In the end, Zhang Xiaobai had actually signed up for the tutoring class, saying that he wanted to learn a specialty. Zhang Xiaobai felt aggrieved and pouted. Is it wrong to learn a specialty? Lin Yuan could not help but ask. Is there anyone who wants to learn a specialty? Zhang Xiaobai felt even more aggrieved as he blinked his eyes. My Yen-E got a certificate. Lin Yuan and the quartet quietly left the land under Millstone Town's city wall, which they had defended last night, and headed for the endless forest at dawn. In fact, what Lin Yuan and the quartet of Extreme Guild Club members did not know was that everyone present had already seen their departure. He had defended Millstone Town against the Pinnacle Class 1 insect tied alone, and healed everyone at the most critical moment. Putting aside the fact that he was a prodigy and would definitely be in the center of everyone's eyes, just Lin Yuan's life-saving grace made it hard for the people who had experienced the massacre outside Millstone Town to look away from him. The moment Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet left, the burly leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards, the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch president, and everyone in Millstone Town stood there quietly, sincerely watching the hero leave. This was the hero's choice. The hero had tried his best to persuade the fierce tide, but he had always retreated lightly and was unwilling to leave his name. The Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch president felt that the morning sun was especially dazzling. It was unknown whether it was because of the glare of the morning sun or the agitation in his heart. 2 lines of hot tears flowed from his eyes as he softly said, "Outstanding young man." When the bald leader of the Ascending Dragon Guards heard the words of the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch president, he solemnly bowed in the direction where Lin Yuan and the others had left. This is more than just outstanding young man. This is Xueqi's spirit, Xueqi's backbone. Baidu immediately read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw bookstore for free. Chapter 150. The mountains and rivers were tranquil, and birds, beasts, fish, and insects were dormant. While walking in the endless forest, Lin Yuan felt that the air was especially fresh. This freshness didn't refer to the spirit qi content, but the fragrance of the grass, trees, and soil in the endless forest's air. At that moment, Lin Yuan found a thumb-sized dragonfly on a birch tree that was nearly 20 meters tall. This dragonfly's entire body was red, and its wings were a light green color. When Lin Yuan saw this dragonfly's appearance, he recognized that it should be a normal mist flame dragonfly that had just been born. The mist flame dragonfly was a fae with great potential but was very rare. Along the way, Lin Yuan had encountered plenty of normal and elite faes, and this mist flame dragonfly was the one with the best aptitude among all the faes that Lin Yuan had encountered so far. The fae's aptitude didn't refer to the fae's strength at its grade, but its evolution potential during the evolution process. The mist flame dragonfly was a wind-type and fire-type dual-type fae with extremely high evolution potential. It was considered one of the faes with stronger wind and fire energy after the spirituality mutation among the offense-type faes. Wind helped the fire, and wind had always been the best partner of fire. Upon seeing this mist flame dragonfly with extraordinary aptitude, Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't miss it. He carefully approached the mist flame dragonfly, And when his palm was still a distance away from it, Lin Yuan quickly circulated the spiritual power in his body to let the mist flame dragonfly feel the pure spiritual power from Lin Yuan's palm. The pure spirit qi that Lin Yuan released from his palm only stopped for a moment. The mist flame dragonfly sensed Lin Yuan's release of spirit qi and immediately flew toward him. At that moment, the mist flame dragonfly was already standing obediently on Lin Yuan's fingertip. It wasn't afraid of people at all and was gently flapping its wings as though it was begging Lin Yuan to release more spirit qi. This scene made the Extreme Guild Club's quartet dumbfounded. It wasn't that Xianing, Zhang Xiaobai, and the others had never seen other creation masters harvesting in the wild. But who could make a wild fae develop a favorable impression like Lin Yuan? Zhang Xiaobai suddenly muttered at that moment. Could it be that good looks can make fays feel close to me? If that's the case, then all the fays in the endless forest should be surrounding me now. Xianing couldn't help but hold her forehead with her hand. Although it felt good to beat Zhang Xiaobai, it was too tiring to keep beating him. So, Xianing took out a knuckle blade from her backpack and wore it on her hand. Zhang Xiaobai instantly became obedient. At that moment, Lin Yuan stored the normal mist flame dragonfly into the face storage box. They continued on their way. After walking for a few hours, it was already noon. Lin Yuan had already harvested a few fays with greater potential. If these fays were properly nurtured, they could be nurtured into powerful fays that were hard to come by. At lunchtime, they sat on the ground and ate the dry rations prepared by Lu Pinru. Zhang Xiaobai said while chewing on his rations. If I had known earlier, I would have bought a few dozen skewers of kidney this morning. Eating kidney skewers at this time is really delicious. Xianing glared at Zhang Xiaobai and waved the knuckle blade on her hand. Zhang Xiaobai immediately changed his words. I'm talking about big kidneys so that I'll have more strength after eating them. Otherwise, how am I supposed to block in front of you and help you take damage? Lu Pinru could not help but roll her eyes at Zhang Xiaobai. You're just lusting after its body. Despicable. Zhang Xiaobai was unwilling. Is it because your kidneys aren't fat enough? Or was the taste of the kidney not good enough? What's wrong with me lusting after her body? Lin Yuan was eating his rations. When he had entered the endless forest, he had already taken off his mask. When Lin Yuan saw that everyone was almost done eating, he flipped his hand. He took out the fruits that he had stored in the leaf-shaped face storage box and distributed them to everyone. When Zhang Xiaobai saw the fruit, he hurriedly threw the dry food in his hand to the side and gnawed on the fruit. Zhang Xiaobai felt the sweet and sour fruit pulp in his mouth. So high. He had reached the peak of his life. When adventuring in the wild, having a creation master in the team would greatly reduce the probability of wild fays attacking. Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet had also been attacked a few times. However, with Xianing and Tan Ran attacking, Zhang Xiaobai defending, Lu Pinru assisting, and Lin Yuan healing, the battle quickly ended. At the same time, Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet had also obtained plenty of fresh spiritual ingredients. Zhang Xiaobai walked in the endless forest and suddenly had an idea. He looked at everyone and asked mysteriously. A woman giving birth is an idiom. Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran couldn't be bothered with Zhang Xiaobai. Zhang Xiaobai hurriedly turned his head to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan looked at Zhang Xiaobai's expectant gaze and pondered for a moment. Unbearably painful. Zhang Xiaobai seemed to be waiting for Lin Yuan to say this answer as he laughed heartily. You're slandering me. Lin Yuan revealed a pretty boy's puzzled expression. Lin Yuan didn't have many friends in this life, and he hadn't had many opportunities to make friends in order to survive in the past. Lin Yuan had always felt that he was a person whose friendship with a gentleman was as indifferent as water. However, after getting along with Zhang Xiaobai, Lin Yuan felt that this kind of nonsensical style was exceptionally interesting. Lin Yuan and the Extreme Guild Club's quartet collected the Jade Unicorn Ice Snake's venom without much difficulty. At the same time, Lin Yuan also found a few small fish in the cold pool where the Jade Unicorn Ice Snake resided. Upon seeing these small fish, Lin Yuan recognized their species at a glance. Lin Yuan didn't expect such good things to appear in such a place. He planned to bring these small fish back and slowly nurture them. Lin Yuan hurriedly placed these small fish in a container filled with pool water and carefully stored them in the diamond face storage box. At that moment, Lin Yuan's wild harvest was considered to have officially ended. Lin Yuan might not have harvested a lot of fays this time, but each of them was considered to be of excellent quality. There were also 3 small fish that he had found in the cold pool at the end. These 3 small fish were truly top-notch. On the way back, Lin Yuan didn't go back to the royal capital with the quartet. Before returning to the royal capital, Lin Yuan planned to go to Redbud City's Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy to see Xueqi. At the same time, he wanted to give the normal dust powder butterfly that had hatched from the cocoon to the bronze Vajra butterfly as Xueqi's second fei to form a contract. The silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that Lin Yuan had left behind for Xueqi was still with him. Lin Yuan planned to bring it along for Xueqi to consume. Such a treasure could improve the physique and wash away impurities. The earlier Xueqi used it, the better. Lin Yuan exchanged contact information with the Extreme Guild Club's quartet, and arranged to have a small gathering after returning to the royal capital. After arriving at Ascending Dragon City, Lin Yuan and the quartet parted ways. Then, Lin Yuan spent a large number of Radiance dollars to order a Platinum Flying Fei, Divine Travel Black Swallow. The Divine Travel Black Swallow had the fastest flying speed among all the official flying feis in the Radiance Federation, and it was worthy of the name Divine Travel. Lin Yuan had ordered this Divine Travel Black Swallow because the distance between Ascending Dragon City and Redbud City was simply too far. At that time, Ling Zhao's fantasy breed Blue Jade Pegasus had taken a few days to fly from Redbud City to the royal capital. If Lin Yuan were to fly from Ascending Dragon City to Redbud City on a silver fei, Xueqi's 2-month semester would have already ended by the time he arrived. When Lin Yuan was on the back of this Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow, he did not know that his identity, Black, was already famous on Star Web. Although Lin Yuan did not accept the Star Web reporter's interview, every Spirit Chi professional in Millstone Town was a witness to Black. As the people outside Millstone Town described Black's image and abilities, the Star Web reporters that rushed over gradually had some clues. Previously, no one had thought that Black's fei was a fantasy breed. After all, a silver fantasy breed was simply too shocking. However, after the Star Web reporters contacted a 3-star scholar to research it. In addition, the people in Millstone Town had described in detail that Black Silver Healing Type fei could regrow severed limbs. In the end, it was confirmed that Black's Healing Type fei was a silver fantasy breed. The Radiance Federation was a nation that worshipped heroes, so Lin Yuan's identity, Black, immediately became popular on Star Web. He even had a dedicated Star Web Tieba and Star Web fan group on Star Web. Black Star Web Forum and fan group were actually created by the Bronze Spirit Chi professional who owned the Spitting Turtle Dove. Moreover, almost everyone in Millstone Town, including the president of the Guild Alliance branch, had joined Black Star Web Forum and fan group. There were also many people who came because of Black's deeds, causing Black Star Web Forum and fan group to grow day by day. Of course, there were also many haters among them. At that moment, Lu Lang, the healing-type Spirit Chi professional who owned the Spitting Turtle Dove, was furiously replying to the post on Star Web. Lu Lang was truly infuriated when someone scolded his life idol and savior, Black. How can you casually scold a genius hero like Black? Lu Lang could not help but curse. These haters are really annoying. They swallow their anger in reality and don't dare to insult others, enduring humiliation for the greater good. But on Star Web, casually scolding netizens, and in high spirits. Don't blame me, Lu Lang, for being impolite to such haters. Lu Lang read with a solemn expression. The heavens didn't give birth to a keyboard warrior. Spewing like a long night for eternity. The pinnacle of immortals, looking down on the world. With my keyboard there will be heaven. I will suppress all enemies for the keyboard emperor. Who dares to call themselves invincible in the world? Who dares to say he is undefeatable? The key transforms into my heart. The big board key comes from the heavens. The rushing flow key never returns. When the yin and yang reversal arrives, I will use my magic key to clear the heavens. Great creation key. Key comes. From then on, Lu Lang's Star Web name was Zuen. Under Lu Lang's crazy operation, the Star Web name Zuen also became popular, and countless Star Web netizens called him Zuen Maniac. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House, for free. Chapter 151. Lin Yuan sat on the Divine Travel Black Swallow's back and couldn't help but complain. It was fine if the Divine Travel Black Swallow wasn't comfortable, but it was also uncomfortable. The divine travel black swallow was rather small and very light. Most of its long feathers were concentrated on its wings, and there was only a thin layer of feathers on its back. In fact, the reason why the divine travel black swallow wasn't comfortable was because of its fast speed. There were many types of flying fays that could be booked in the Radiance Federation. The divine travel black swallow might not be comfortable, but it was definitely the most popular flying fay. The distance between the Radiance Federation's major cities was too far, and it could save some travel time. Therefore, the discomfort could be ignored. When Lin Yuan had booked the divine travel black swallow on Star Web, he had also looked at other platinum flying fays that could be booked. Among them, the most expensive and comfortable flying fay was the orchid fragrant swan. The orchid fragrant swan's demeanor was extremely elegant. Its slender goose neck and spacious back wings gave it a very elegant feeling. Its body was covered with goose yellow feathers with a hint of pink, and it was filled with a kind of romantic flavor. The orchid fragrant swan's body was accompanied by many goose feather orchids, and they smelled very good. The goose language orchid's fragrance was a faint orchid fragrance with a sweet fruit fragrance. When smelling it, it gave off a kind of elegant and sweet feeling. At the same time, the goose language orchid was also a kind of extremely valuable platinum spiritual ingredient. It was the main fragrance of a high-end perfume that was widely loved by female spirit chi professionals. Furthermore, the orchid fragrant swan's pink feathers were extremely silky, and it felt as though one was sliding one's hand into a large piece of silk. The platinum orchid fragrant swan was very comfortable and elegant, but no matter how rich spirit chi professionals were, they wouldn't ride on the orchid fragrant swan. The orchid fragrant swan's flying speed was simply too slow, and it couldn't even compare to some silver fays that were adept at flying. Therefore, the orchid fragrant swan was the best choice for spirit chi professionals with rich family backgrounds to go on their honeymoon after they got married. If someone really rode on the orchid fragrant swan to settle some urgent matters, it would be too late by the time the orchid fragrant swan arrived. Lin Yuan sat on the divine travel black swallow's back and straightened his body. Since it would take a few days to travel from Ascending Dragon City to Redbud City, Lin Yuan checked the thumb-sized, translucent, egg-shaped source-type life form that the mother of Bloodbath thought it was lucky to have obtained from the Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. With a wave of his hand, he took out the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. As a result, Lin Yuan used True Data to check and realized that this Pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift's prototype life form was really an insect egg. However, when Lin Yuan used True Data to check this prototype insect egg, he felt something strange. He finally understood why the mother of Bloodbath had said that this insect egg was very suitable for Red Thorn and that it had picked up a huge bargain. Inside this translucent egg was an acid corrosion queen bee that was still in the form of an egg. As a source-type life form, the acid corrosion queen bee's contract conditions were undoubtedly very harsh. The acid corrosion queen bee was a kind of parasitic source-type life form and needed to parasitize other phase or source-type life forms to survive. At the same time, the body of the parasitized Fey or source-type life form must have an extremely acidic environment because only such an environment could allow the acid corrosion queen bee to grow healthily. The acid corrosion queen bee usually had to eat a large amount of acid from the parasitized Fey or source-type life form as a source of nutrition to maintain its life. Therefore, there were not many suitable Feys or source-type life forms for the acid corrosion queen bee to parasitize. After breaking out of the egg, the acid corrosion queen bee would immediately build a nest in its own acidic environment. During the process of building the nest, the acid corrosion queen bee would absorb a large amount of acid and energy from the host body. After building the nest, the acid corrosion queen bee would sign a contract with the host Fey or source-type life form. After signing the contract, the acid corrosion queen bee would protect the host Fey or source-type life form. It would worship the host Fey or source-type life form as the only god in its world. The acid corrosion queen bee would completely listen to all the instructions of the host Fey or source-type life form. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be speechless. This acid corrosion queen bee and Red Thorn were really a perfect match. Most source-type life forms and Feys would generally only have a strong acidic environment at the place of digestion. If the acid corrosion queen bee wanted to build a nest, then small source-type life forms and Feys would have to be eliminated. But even so, animal Feys and source-type life forms with strong acidic bodies were undoubtedly not suitable for the acid corrosion queen bee. Be it Feys or source-type life forms, if the acid corrosion queen bee built a nest in the stomach. The stomach was the digestive system and the foundation for animal Feys and source-type life forms to absorb energy. If the acid corrosion queen bee absorbed a large amount of acid and energy in the stomach, the animal phase and source-type lifeforms roots would probably be damaged in a few days. But red thorn was different, as it almost perfectly matched the acid corrosion queen bee's conditions. When red thorn's mouth of relinquish evolved to the bronze/epic quality, it had already become a flesh furnace. A large amount of alien insect flesh could be easily digested and devoured, and red thorn's digestive fluid had devoured the acid in the acid corrosion tapeworm's body. Although he did not dare to say that red thorn's acid was definitely stronger than the acid corrosion tapeworm's, it was already to the extent that it could corrode sand. Such a powerful acid could help the acid corrosion queen bee's growth. Moreover, the acid corrosion queen bee needed a large amount of energy and acid to build a nest, so it wasn't a problem for red thorn. Red thorn's mouth of relinquish carried an extremely strong digestive ability, and the dozen or so digestive cavities on its ortet were mainly used to store excess acid. If the mouth of relinquish needed to replenish acid, the digestive cavities would flow the stored acid back into the mouth of relinquish. However, red thorn devoured a large amount of alien insects' flesh and energy every day. The alien insect's blood contained a lot of acid, so red thorn's digestive fluid was a little too abundant. With such abundant digestive fluid, the digestive cavities always needed to spit out a large amount of acid. Now, red thorn only needed to give the acid corrosion queen bee a digestive cavity on its ortet. If the acid corrosion queen bee needed energy, red thorn could devour more dimensional lifeforms' flesh to cope. To Lin Yuan, the acid corrosion queen bee's advantage was that he didn't need to use his remaining trace of spiritual energy to sign a contract. As a parasitic lifeform in red thorn's body, the acid corrosion queen bee would sign a contract with red thorn, so it could command the acid corrosion queen bee at will. As a source seed that was connected to Lin Yuan by blood, there was no difference between red thorn commanding the acid corrosion queen bee and Lin Yuan commanding the acid corrosion queen bee himself. However, due to this parasitic relationship, the acid corrosion queen bee had not signed a contract with Lin Yuan, so he couldn't provide the acid corrosion queen bee with a willpower rune. If the acid corrosion queen bee wanted to evolve into a fantasy breed, it could only take the path of a wild fae reaching the pinnacle of diamond and legend before comprehending the willpower rune on its own. Fortunately, the acid corrosion queen bee wasn't like red thorn, which couldn't be enhanced by Lin Yuan, so it wasn't difficult for it to reach legend. As for whether the acid corrosion queen bee could comprehend the willpower rune and become a fantasy breed, it would depend on the acid corrosion queen bee's talent. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 152. As fays that grew freely in the wild, the most difficult thing was to improve their quality. In fact, there were many fays that grew freely in the wild. Even if they reached platinum, they would only be at elite. When they reached diamond, they would only be at flawless. It took a long time for wild fays to improve their quality or encounter great opportunities. This was why creation masters could use all kinds of spiritual ingredients to concoct spirit liquids to attract wild fays. This was because the spirit fluid that was concocted with various spiritual ingredients contained pure spirit chi. Pure spirit chi was something that wild fays yearned for. After all, there was no life form that did not want to evolve and improve its quality. This instinct to continuously evolve was the cornerstone of the grand poem of life and the history of life, the evolution of species, and the formation of thousands of life. This instinct for evolution had long been engraved in the depths of every fae's soul since birth. Therefore, creation masters who possessed evolved fays to upgrade their fays' grade and quality would receive preferential treatment from wild fays. Although the acid corrosion queen bee was a source-type life form, it could not be said to be a true fae. However, the acid corrosion queen bee was destined to embark on this difficult path. Fortunately, this difficulty could be easily resolved due to Lin Yuan's existence. When the acid corrosion queen bee reached bronze, it could be upgraded to legend with Lin Yuan's help. As for the acid corrosion queen bee's grade, with the increase of Lin Yuan's spirit chi rank and creation master ability, it was only a matter of time before it reached pinnacle diamond. Therefore, there was only one thing that was really difficult for the acid corrosion queen bee: how to comprehend the willpower rune. Lin Yuan was actually happy to see such a situation for the acid corrosion queen bee. The acid corrosion queen bee did not need to fuse with a willpower rune at bronze to evolve into a fantasy breed like Lin Yuan's other fays in order to maximize their potential. Therefore, Lin Yuan could constantly upgrade the acid corrosion queen bee without any scruples. Moreover, the acid corrosion queen bee had not evolved into a fantasy breed, so it was very easy for Lin Yuan to upgrade it. This would undoubtedly make up for Lin Yuan's current lack of high-grade combat power. Given Lin Yuan's current standard as a C-rank spirit chi professional, it was not difficult to rely on his ability to enhance the source-type acid corrosion queen bee to gold. The gold/legend source-type acid corrosion queen bee was not much inferior to some pinnacle gold phase that had yet to reach legend. The gold/legend source-type acid corrosion queen bee had given him the qualifications to fight for the Radiance 100 sequence. It allowed him to have the combat power to become one of the Radiance Federation's top youths. To Red Thorn, the acid corrosion queen bee was more like a tool for Red Thorn. Red Thorn only needed to provide a digestive cavity for the acid corrosion queen bee, and the acid corrosion queen bee would treat Red Thorn as its god and serve it. Strong acidic digestive fluids and energy were nothing to Red Thorn. The leaf-shaped phase storage box that the Moon Empress had given him had enough dimensional lifeforms flesh to feed Red Thorn to platinum. The energy required to feed the acid corrosion queen bee with the flesh of these dimensional lifeforms was just a drop in the ocean compared to the energy contained in the leaf-shaped diamond phase storage box. Red Thorn's biggest problem in battle was that Red Thorn was adept at quickly starting a battle of attrition. It was an extremely powerful AoE attack method. The gold acid corrosion queen bee perfectly made up for Red Thorn's lack of single-target lethality. Red Thorn's vines could lethality and control at the same time, which undoubtedly gave the acid corrosion queen bee more opportunities to attack. With the acid corrosion queen bee cooperating with Red Thorn and complementing its single-target combat power, Red Thorn no longer had an obvious shortcoming. At that moment, Red Thorn was truly considered a truly terrifying killing machine. The sea of flowers spread out, and a powerful source-type life form was hidden in the sea of vines. The acid corrosion queen bee. The acid corrosion queen bee could perfectly cooperate with Red Thorn to carry out sneak attacks on some powerful single-target enemies and kill them. Lin Yuan put the acid corrosion queen bee's egg back into the diamond phase storage box. It was undoubtedly not suitable to summon Red Thorn on the divine travel black swallow's back, so the acid corrosion queen bee's egg could not hatch. Lin Yuan originally just wanted to go to the endless forest for a simple wild harvest. However, along the way, he met Zhang Xiaobai, Xian Ying, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran. After experiencing the battle at Millstone Town, he had no choice. At the same time, Lin Yuan also comprehended a twilight willpower rune in the rising sun after the battle. He also harvested a lot of phase with great potential in the wild. The harvest along the way was really great. If he did not have to see Chu Ci now, Lin Yuan would have the intention to enter seclusion. Lin Yuan would probably need to enter seclusion for another month or two before he could completely transform these gains into strength. Chimey had already reached bronze/legend, but due to the lack of a suitable willpower rune, Chimey's grade had been stuck. Now that Chimey finally had a suitable twilight willpower rune, it was imperative for it to evolve into a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan could not help but look forward to what kind of changes Chimey would undergo after fusing with a twilight willpower rune to evolve into a fantasy breed. What kind of exclusive skill would Chimey awaken from this twilight willpower rune? A phase evolution into a fantasy breed had to go through a rebirth. Just by looking at the Jasmine Lily's evolution into a fantasy breed, one could know what kind of improvement it would have for a fae. Now, Lin Yuan finally understood why so many experts like to enter seclusion. It was because seclusion could allow one to calm down in a relatively undisturbed environment. It could strengthen what one needed to be strong and tidy up what one needed to tidy up. At the same time, it could also clarify the path to take next in seclusion. Lin Yuan had been sitting on the divine travel black swallow's back for the past few days. Overlooking the mountains and rivers under the radiance, he only felt that the mountains and rivers were majestic. The battle at Millstone Town had really made Lin Yuan's heart beat too hard. These few days of relaxation had made Lin Yuan feel refreshed. The divine travel black swallow sent Lin Yuan into Redbud City. After seeing that Lin Yuan had confirmed the order on Star Web, the divine travel black swallow flew away. This trip on the platinum divine travel black swallow had cost a total of 3 radiance dollars. This made Lin Yuan involuntarily have the idea of nurturing a flying fae for transportation. In the Radiance Federation, private flying faes could be nurtured. Ordinary spirit chi professionals needed to sign a contract with the flying fae before they could be registered in the Radiance Federation. Only these flying faes that were registered in the Radiance Federation could apply for a driving certificate. However, there was an exception, and that was Creation Masters. Creation Masters could directly apply for a Flying Fae driving certificate in the Creation Master Association. Creation Masters could apply for a driving certificate without signing a contract with the Fae. However, the prerequisite was that the Creation Master Association had to prove that the Flying Fae was nurtured by the Creation Master himself. In fact, the Radiance Federation was so strict in this aspect because they were afraid that the Flying Fae would lose control during flight and cause some accidents. There were all sorts of Flying Faes that could be ridden by private people, and their grades were generally not low. Such Flying Faes that lost control would be extremely destructive. If the Flying Fae lost control, it would just injure the pilot. If the Flying Fae lost control and injured other innocent people, it would cause a lot of unnecessary disputes. Read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House, for free. Chapter 153. In fact, flying-type Faes were rather expensive in the Radiance Federation. Especially the rare flying-type Faes that could be ridden. In the Radiance Federation, flying-type Faes that could be ridden weren't just used as a means of transportation. They were also treated as luxurious goods to show off one's status. Lin Yuan walked on the streets of Redbud City and looked at the flourishing Redbud City. Lin Yuan realized that he had a special fate with Redbud City. Every time he came to Redbud City, his state of mind would be different. The first time he came to Redbud City was when he was in a hurry to deliver the bronze rhinoceros iron bull to Xueqi. At that time, Lin Yuan had just recovered his ability to sense spirit chi and discovered his creation master abilities. At that time, Lin Yuan had a boundless longing for the future. In Lin Yuan's opinion, he had already set up a new life goal. The second time he came, Lin Yuan had skipped a grade and passed the Creation Master exam, becoming a Class 2 Creation Master. At that moment, Lin Yuan already had the confidence that his path was under his feet. This was also Lin Yuan's third time coming to Redbud City. After experiencing life and death battles, he had a clear view of this world. Lin Yuan had already determined the path he wanted to take in the future. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard a hawking voice. Cornbread, $1 for 4. Lin Yuan couldn't help but reveal a bright smile. During his 3 visits, he would see this stall selling cornbread. It was truly fate. Lin Yuan walked up and spent $1 Federation to buy 4 cornbread buns. Lin Yuan picked up a cornbread and bit into it. After eating meals made with high-grade spiritual ingredients in the Radiant Moon Palace for a few months, Lin Yuan realized that his mouth was much more picky than before. A few months ago, he felt that the cornbread was rather delicious. But now, it was a little hard to swallow. When he swallowed this cornbread that was a little hard to swallow, Lin Yuan felt that it should be changed to thinking of sweetness. In Lin Yuan's opinion, his previous strong self was sweet. Because the silver stamen gold luster cassia-nectar had washed away all the impurities in his body, Lin Yuan had perfected his genetic model. After washing away all the impurities in his body, Lin Yuan's originally excellent temperament had become even more extraordinary. After washing away all the impurities, Lin Yuan's originally excellent temperament had become even more extraordinary. His bright youthful aura had an indescribable carefreeness that attracted many people's gazes along the way. Previously, Lin Yuan's pearl shone faintly. However, now that he was back at the same place, he was already unparalleled in the world. Before going to the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy, where Xueqi was, he specially went to the store to buy some fruits. Among these fresh fruits, Lin Yuan had also added some that were unique to Ascending Dragon City's Millstone Town. Fruits that couldn't be bought in Redbud City. Lin Yuan had brought these fruits to Teacher Bao. Whether it was those who had helped him or Xueqi when he had been weak, he would remember them in his heart as long as he knew about them. When he arrived at the entrance of the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy, he called Xueqi. The call was quickly picked up by Xueqi. Lin Yuan, why are you calling me at this time? I just finished training. You don't know how strong this sharp iron hornbull is. Even those seniors can't beat me. When Xueqi saw that Lin Yuan was calling her, she started talking. However, Lin Yuan could not help but touch the back of his head. Lin Yuan had a question. Was Xueqi done for? I'm a defense-type spirit chi professional. Xueqi was simply using the sharp iron hornbull as an offense-type fae. She was actually competing with a senior during the training session. What if she was injured by the senior? Even if Lin Yuan had a free and easy temperament, He could not help but worry about his only blood relative in this world. When Xueqi saw that Lin Yuan did not say anything, she immediately knew what the problem was. I'm not trying to improve myself as quickly as possible. Brother, you're already a creation master. If I don't work hard, won't I be left further and further behind by you? When Lin Yuan heard Xueqi call him brother, he immediately knew that things were not so simple. Xueqi should have been injured in training. Otherwise, based on their many years of experience of relying on each other, Xueqi would usually call him brother. Xueqi usually called him Lin Yuan, but whenever she called him big brother, nothing good would happen. Lin Yuan said hurriedly, "Where are you? I'll go over to find you." On the other end of the line, Xueqi was delighted at first. Then, she glanced at the teacher who was treating her and could not help but stick out her tongue. At that moment, the teacher who was treating Xueqi spoke. "Xueqi, the bones in your arm are cracked. My Fae can only treat superficial injuries. You need to recuperate on your own." When the medical teacher opened his mouth, Xueqi wanted to cover the phone, but Lin Yuan still heard the words fractured bones. Xueqi could not help but feel guilty. Every time Lin Yuan called her, he would always tell her to be careful, and she would always tell him not to worry. However, it seemed that she had been caught. Xueqi trained very hard. When she had nothing to do, she would train her combat skills with her seniors on the training ground. However, the teacher would treat her every time. This was the first time she had a fractured bone. "Brother, wait for me. I'll pick you up now, but you may have to accompany me to buy some spiritual ingredients to treat bone injuries." Xueqi glanced at her arm, which was hanging down and did not dare to use force. She knew that such an injury could not be concealed even if she wanted to. Lin Yuan now had a headache. Xueqi had been a steady person since she was young. Why did she also become reckless after having the sharp iron hornbull, a defense-type Fae that relied on brute defense? Lin Yuan had always wanted to turn Xueqi into an iron bucket that no one could break, but he had put it aside. Now, Lin Yuan felt that it was necessary to revive this idea. In order to prevent Xueqi from getting injured again, it was imperative to turn her into an iron bucket. The cocoon of the powder butterfly in Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone had already hatched. The normal powder butterfly inside had also been transformed into a bronze Vajra butterfly. Before the powder butterfly evolved into the Vajra butterfly, Lin Yuan had already raised the elite powder butterfly's quality to epic. Therefore, the bronze Vajra butterfly had 3 exclusive skills to choose from. 2 of these 3 exclusive skills were not considered good, so Lin Yuan gave up on them. The appearance of the 3rd exclusive skill, counterattack tremor, made Lin Yuan overjoyed. This exclusive skill could allow Xueqi to defend against the opponent's attack while reflecting a portion of the damage caused by the opponent's attack back in the form of energy tremor. The Vajra butterfly's elite ability, Vajra Shield, would allow the Vajra butterfly to fly around the target and condense a solid, transparent Vajra shield on the target. This was the prototype of an iron bucket in Lin Yuan's mind. The Vajra butterfly's exclusive skill, counterattack tremor, allowed Xueqi to have a certain counterattack method while strengthening her defense. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this was the choice that a defense-type spirit chi professional should make. Compared to the Vajra butterfly, the sharp iron hornbull was simply a fake defense-type Fae. The Vajra butterfly was a Fae that Lin Yuan and Xueqi had discussed and chosen after a lot of choices. If the Vajra butterfly was properly nurtured, it could evolve into a jadeite butterfly at gold. The jadeite butterfly had the reputation of being the best among gold defense-type Faes. This meant that the shield released by the jadeite butterfly was recognized as the best among gold defense-type Faes in terms of hardness. However, to nurture the Vajra butterfly into a jadeite butterfly required a lot of resources and extremely pure spirit chi. Now that Lin Yuan had the radiance dollars in Chang Wu's beetle-shaped diamond face storage box, he naturally did not need to worry about a lot of resources. Other creation masters might not be able to produce extremely pure spirit chi, but for Lin Yuan, it was just circulating the spiritual power in his body. It was extremely simple. Therefore, Lin Yuan was confident that he could evolve Xueqi's Vajra butterfly into a jadeite butterfly at gold. As for the jadeite butterfly's evolution into the legendary Tourmaline Emperor butterfly, he would have to start from memory. At that moment, Lin Yuan could not help but set up a plan to nurture his younger sister into an iron bucket. Stack the thickest armor. Even if you get the most vicious beating, even if you get the most severe beating, you will not get hurt at all. This is what a mature brother should do. The Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy was currently in class, so there were not many people at the school entrance. At that moment, a young girl's nervous little head appeared at the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy school entrance. When the young girl saw the sunny youth standing at the school entrance, she immediately beamed with joy and was about to rush up when she suddenly thought of something. She hurriedly revealed a pitiful smile and said sweetly, "Big brother, I missed you after not seeing you for so long." Bro, I missed you after not seeing you for so long. Baidu was reading the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 154. Lin Yuan had been a little angry at first. Xueqi, a defense-type spirit chi professional, had actually fought with a senior and injured herself, causing her arm to fracture due to the battle injury. If she wanted to practice combat skills, she could have gone to Star Web and climbed the tower to fight. Lin Yuan had not seen Xueqi for a few months, and the longing he had suppressed in his heart had completely erupted at this moment. Especially when he had been attacked by Cheng Wu at the moment of life and death, he had only thought of Xueqi, his only family. The responsibility of being an elder brother made Lin Yuan afraid that if he really died, Xueqi would have no one to rely on. Lin Yuan looked at Xueqi's pitiful face and sweetly called him elder brother. When he looked at Xueqi's big, round eyes, Lin Yuan knew that she was using the trick that worked every time. However, Lin Yuan really could not do anything about Xueqi like this. All the anger in his heart because of worry had dissipated. Even if Lin Yuan was a free and easy person, when facing his only family member, Xueqi, he would still inevitably have double standards. If a defense-type spirit chi professional like Xueqi fought with a senior and worked hard to improve her combat skills, Lin Yuan would definitely immediately give her a thumbs up and praise her. After all, Star Web combat skills were not as solid as actual combat skills. This was also why the school's actual combat classes were not on Star Web. Even if she was injured, in Lin Yuan's opinion, since it was a real combat, how could she not be injured? However, when it was Xueqi who was injured, Lin Yuan did not think so. When Xueqi walked over, her hand was hanging there, and she was frowning because of the pain of walking. Lin Yuan immediately felt distressed and immediately activated the Silver/Fantasy Jasmine Lily's ability, Heal. A green light filled with vitality went toward Xueqi's injured left arm. As the green light flowed, Xueqi felt as if her arm was surrounded by an indescribable comfort. In less than a moment, Xueqi realized that her arm was no longer in pain. She tried to move her arm and said in surprise, "Lin Yuan, when did you become a healing-type spirit chi professional?" Lin Yuan, when did you become a healing-type spirit chi professional? Xueqi had only known that Lin Yuan had the talent to become a creation master, but she did not expect him to also be a healing-type spirit chi professional. Xueqi hurriedly trotted to Lin Yuan's side and happily took a closer look at Lin Yuan's healing hand. When Xueqi was studying at school, the person she missed the most was undoubtedly Lin Yuan. Ever since she knew that Lin Yuan's body had recovered, she could finally put her worries to rest. As for whether Lin Yuan was a creation master or a spirit chi professional, Xueqi would naturally be happy for him. However, what she valued the most was still his health. Just like how he was worried about Xueqi getting hurt. In her heart, he was a giant who had always shielded her from the wind and rain in her life. The word, Big Brother, would forever be the most sacred and powerful word in her heart. She only had a faint impression of her parents. After all, she had been too young when her parents had gone to resist the dimensional rift and never returned. Therefore, in her life, it had always been her elder brother, Lin Yuan. Even when his body was weak, he still managed the face store. No matter how hard it was, he gritted his teeth and supported his family to send him to school. Now, as long as something good happened to him, she would be happier than if something good happened to her. This kind of brother-sister relationship, which had depended on each other for more than 10 years, could not be expressed in words. Although it was already late autumn in Redbud City, it was still hot and humid. However, the wind wasn't weak. The autumn wind scattered a strand of her hair, causing one of her ahog to stand on end. He hurriedly brushed away the raised ahog on her head with his hand and pressed it down. Xueqi's hair had been rather hard since she was young. Every autumn, when the wind blew, the ahog on her head would stand up. Every time Lin Yuan saw her, He would skillfully press down the ahog on her head. "Are there any classes that haven't finished today?" Xueqi said after some thought. "There was an actual combat class in the afternoon, but my arm was injured, so I should be resting in the dormitory." Lin Yuan said as he handed the fruit in his hand to Xueqi. "Then I'll accompany you to ask for leave from Teacher Bao." Xueqi could rest in the dormitory in the afternoon due to her arm injury, and didn't have to participate in the actual combat class. But now that Xueqi's arm had recovered, he still had to inform Xueqi's form teacher. After all, in Lin Yuan's opinion, he still had to abide by the school's rules and regulations. It just so happened that Lin Yuan was about to send the fruit to Teacher Bao. Along the way to Teacher Bao's office, he knocked on the door and entered. He saw Teacher Bao sitting at the table and writing something. When Lin Yuan took a closer look, he realized that the thick book was actually a lesson plan. Teacher Bao was a teacher of Fey observation, and he taught theoretical knowledge. When Lin Yuan saw the thick lesson plan that Teacher Bao was writing, he knew that Teacher Bao had put in a lot of effort to make it easier for the students he taught to understand Feis. When Teacher Bao saw Lin Yuan beside Xueqi, he was obviously stunned for a moment. After taking a closer look, he confirmed Lin Yuan's identity. Xueqi and Lin Yuan had been together for more than 10 years. No matter how one looked at it, they were the closest people. Although Lin Yuan's temperament had undergone a great change, Xueqi didn't feel any difference. This was because in Xueqi's heart, Lin Yuan was the best in every aspect. However, Teacher Bao had only met Lin Yuan twice. Now that he saw Lin Yuan again, he didn't dare to recognize him. This youth in front of him was sunny, handsome, and had an outstanding temperament. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was extremely romantic. However, after confirming Lin Yuan's identity, he nodded and looked at Xueqi's hand. Student Xueqi's talent is very good. Last week, she became a C-rank spirit chi professional. However, the bones in her hand have suffered a rather serious injury. It will take 100 days for the injured tendons and bones to recover. Your parents must pay attention to it. If you can prepare some spiritual ingredients that can promote bone healing and cooperate with the school doctor's treatment, the recovery speed can be increased. Teacher Bao spoke very seriously. If Xueqi's hand could recover earlier, she could also train as soon as possible so that it wouldn't be a waste of Xueqi's excellent talent. For spirit chi professionals, it was very important to build a good foundation when they were young. Xueqi raised her hand and smiled at Teacher Bao. "Teacher Bao, my hand has been healed by my brother." Xueqi didn't think much of it, but when Teacher Bao heard it, he couldn't help but look at Lin Yuan in surprise. Teacher Bao didn't expect Lin Yuan to not only be a healing-type spirit chi professional, but his healing ability was also so strong that he could heal bone injuries. Teacher Bao had a very serious personality, but when he saw that Xueqi's hand had recovered, he couldn't help but smile. The smile on Teacher Bao's wrinkled face made his stern face look a little benevolent. When Lin Yuan told Teacher Bao the reason for his visit, Teacher Bao waved his hand and approved Xueqi's leave. Before leaving, Lin Yuan asked Xueqi to place the fruit on Teacher Bao's desk. Before Lin Yuan could say anything, Teacher Bao picked up the fruit and handed it back. "As a parent, why did you buy fruit when you came to pick up student Xueqi? Take it away. I have to write my lesson plan." After saying that, Teacher Bao leaned over the desk and continued to write his lesson plan. Lin Yuan didn't say that he was going to leave the fruit for Teacher Bao again. Instead, he left the office with Xueqi. In this world, there were always some people who were the most respectable. They taught and educated without asking for anything in return. Their white hair reflected the sun and moon, and their loyal hearts nourished new flowers. Perhaps Teacher Bao had long forgotten about the help he had given Xueqi. Teacher Bao wasn't strong and was just an ordinary person among the masses. However, what he did was like a jade pot with a heart of ice that shone with a great light. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 155. They were now on the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy's campus and were about to leave. It was the end of class, and the campus was filled with laughter and noise. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard the two students beside him and Xueqi speak. "What's the loneliest phrase you've ever heard?" Another student said without thinking. "Student, you're the only one who hasn't handed in your homework." Then he asked, Do you know what extreme sports are? The student who asked the question before was obviously an expert as he replied without hesitation. When the teacher collects homework, you copy other people's homework to make up for your own. When Lin Yuan heard that, he couldn't help but raise his brows. These two students were really clever. Fortunately, Xueqi never had to worry about her studies. Xueqi walked beside Lin Yuan with a smile on her face. It was obvious that she was in a very good mood. Lin Yuan looked at Xueqi and said, "Sure. You have already become a C-rank spirit chi professional. But why didn't you tell me over the phone? If Teacher Bao didn't tell me, how long were you going to hide it from me?" Xueqi stuck out her tongue, wrinkled her nose and said, "I wanted to tell you personally when you came to see me, but old Bao spilled the beans before I told you." Apart from giving her a sense of security, her progress had also improved a lot. Perhaps the happiest thing was to share it with Lin Yuan and let the person closest to him share the joy of his advancement. Lin Yuan was actually quite surprised. Although Lin Yuan knew that Xueqi had good talent, he did not expect that she would be able to reach C rank from D rank in such a short period of cultivation. Lin Yuan knew that he was an anomaly. Spirit Chi professionals had to rely on enhancing phase to increase their rank, so he could not compare himself with Xueqi. However, even the people in the front row of the Radiance 100 sequence, such as the Radiance 100 sequence number 3, Long Tao, who was known as Overturn the Sea, could not compare to them. Right now, he was only a pinnacle B rank Spirit Chi professional, and there was still a very difficult boundary to cross from A rank. Xueqi was only 15 years old, and Long Tao might not be able to break through to become a C rank Spirit Chi professional by the time he was 15. At that moment, Xueqi whispered to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. Lin Yuan, I seem to have comprehended a willpower rune after becoming a C-rank Spirit Chi professional." After saying that, Xueqi circulated her mind power. A willpower rune with a black metallic luster flew out of Xueqi's mind. This willpower rune with a black metallic luster revolved around Xueqi's body, giving off an extremely heavy feeling. Before Lin Yuan could digest his previous surprise, Xueqi had given him another shock. Xueqi had comprehended a willpower rune at the age of 15, which was equivalent to possessing a fantasy breed fae. There might not be an absolute boundary between a Spirit Chi professional's grade and a contracted phase grade, but they were closely related. The limit of a D-rank Spirit Chi professional was to be able to control a bronze fae. A C-rank Spirit Chi professional's limit was a gold fae. At B rank, Spirit Chi professionals could only control platinum phase at their limit. As for A-rank Spirit Chi professionals, their limit was already at the diamond grade. If one wanted a fae to reach the suzerain grade, the Spirit Chi professional would need to be at S rank first. If the Spirit Chi professional's grade was not up to par, it might cause a very awkward situation if they rashly increased the phase grade. For example, if one's spiritual energy could not withstand the load, it might collapse. The increase in a Spirit Chi professional's grade would also increase the spiritual energy and the Spirit Chi in the body. If the number of contracted phase was small, the spiritual energy might barely reach the standard and not collapse. However, even if the spiritual energy did not collapse, the spiritual power in the body would definitely not be able to keep up with the consumption of the phase abilities. Therefore, it had always been a big taboo for Spirit Chi professionals to rashly look for a creation master to increase the phase grade when their grade was not up to par. Xueqi was now a C-rank Spirit Chi professional and had reached the level where she could withstand gold phase. Xueqi's willpower rune had the oppressive feeling of metal, which was obviously very suitable for the sharp iron hornbull. At that moment, a pleasant yet strange voice suddenly echoed in his ears. "Lin Yuan, your sister's talent is simply too shocking. Given time, her future will be limitless." Even though the mother of Bloodbath was experienced and knowledgeable, it could not help but sigh at Xueqi's talent. When Lin Yuan saw that Xueqi had a willpower rune, he said to her seriously, "Give Teacher Bao a call later and ask for 10 days of leave." Lin Yuan did not say what to do, and Xueqi did not ask either. She immediately called Teacher Bao. When Teacher Bao saw that it was Xueqi who was asking for leave, he thought that there was something wrong with her hand and did not hesitate to approve it. When Teacher Bao saw that it was Xueqi who asked for leave, he thought that there was something wrong with her hand and approved it without hesitation. However, due to Xueqi's talent, this Iron Bucket sister plan needed to be implemented now. When Lin Yuan saw that Xueqi had finished the call, he reached out and touched her head. When Lin Yuan saw that Xueqi was done with the call, he reached out and touched her head. After Xueqi finished the call, Lin Yuan reached out to touch her head and said, "Xueqi, you can be considered a powerful spirit chi professional now." If Xueqi had a fantasy breed fae, she would indeed be able to bear the word powerful. Apart from needing a willpower rune, the most difficult thing for a bronze/fantasy breed fae was to increase its quality to legend. Most creation masters would not be able to do anything about such an ability. Faes also had different talents. Faes with extremely high talents could also increase their quality to a very high level without the help of a creation master. However, such faes were always encountered and not sought after. He did not know what grade of creation master would be able to evolve a bronze fae to legend. However, ordinary class 4 creation masters obviously could not do it, and Lin Yuan did not know if pinnacle class 4 creation masters could succeed. However, it was not difficult for Lin Yuan to increase a bronze fae to legend. Given Lin Yuan's standard as a C-rank spirit chi professional, he only needed 5 days to enhance faes in the spirit lock spatial zone and upgrade a bronze fae to legend. Therefore, the real difficulty for Xueqi to have a fantasy breed at bronze was that she needed a willpower rune. She already had this willpower rune. Lin Yuan had asked Xueqi to apply for 10 days of leave from Teacher Bao, because he wanted to properly enhance her. When Xueqi saw that Lin Yuan had been looking serious as though he was thinking about something, she whispered to him seriously, "Lin Yuan, I didn't tell anyone that I comprehended a willpower rune." Lin Yuan, I didn't tell anyone that I comprehended a willpower rune. Upon hearing Xueqi's words, Lin Yuan laughed. There was a saying that children from poor families matured early, and this saying was indeed true. Lin Yuan had lived 2 lives and naturally understood the principle of, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Xueqi had grown up in a difficult environment and also understood this principle. Lin Yuan was very pleased with Xueqi's cautiousness. At the same time, Lin Yuan looked at Xueqi with a firm gaze and said, "It's a good thing to hide your edge. However, from now on, you don't need to hide your edge anymore. You can show your talents to your heart's content." Lin Yuan had already made a decision when he knew that Xueqi had comprehended a willpower rune. He wanted to tell his master, the Moon Empress, about Xueqi's talent. He could afford all of Xueqi's faes and resources in the future. However, Lin Yuan needed to ensure that Xueqi could show her talent to her heart's content in front of everyone with such a strong talent, and that no one would have any bad ideas because of jealousy. Lin Yuan had always wanted to roam the world single-handedly. However, Lin Yuan knew that the moment he had acknowledged the Moon Empress as his master, she had already become his teacher and a relative who had no blood relations with him. No matter what, Lin Yuan would always have one of the Radiance Federation's 3 Class 5 creation masters behind him. With the Moon Empress around, Xueqi's safety would not be a problem. As he looked at Xueqi, Lin Yuan could not help but feel proud. Lin Yuan's heart was filled with lofty sentiments. Since my sister has talent, why does she need to hide? She should shine in the center of everyone. At the same time, Lin Yuan's gaze became increasingly firm. Given his current improvement speed, he would be able to protect Xueqi even if he was alone in 2 years. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly felt as though he had a daughter in his family who had just matured. Baiduan read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 156. Since he had decided to give Xueqi an upgrade, Lin Yuan did not delay at all. After Lin Yuan and Xueqi went to have a meal, he brought Xueqi to the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. At that time, Lin Yuan had completed the Class 2 Creation Master exam in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. This time, Lin Yuan first paid a visit to Elder Ning. When he saw Elder Ning, he found that Elder Ning was still nurturing that spiral-toothed shark. Compared to when Lin Yuan had seen the spiral-toothed shark more than 2 months ago, this spiral-toothed shark had become even larger. At the same time, it was also stronger. This was a sign that the spiral-toothed shark was about to undergo prehistoric atavism again. It seemed that Elder Ning's intention of activating the trace of Megalodon's bloodline in this spiral-toothed shark was really very likely to be realized. After paying a visit to Elder Ning, Lin Yuan rented a breeding room in the Creation Master Association as a Class 2 Creation Master. Then, he prepared some fresh fruits rich in spirit chi in the breeding room, which became Lin Yuan's meals for the next few days. In these few days, Lin Yuan wanted to carry out a qualitative upgrade for Xueqi. Although Xueqi had been attending school in Redbud City for some time, this was her first time coming to the Creation Master Association in Redbud City. As a member of the Radiance Federation, Xueqi did not know much about the various aspects of Creation Master's phase. However, Xueqi also knew the status of Creation Masters in the Radiance Federation. Lin Yuan being able to become a Creation Master made Xueqi exceptionally proud. Lin Yuan's expectations for Xueqi were the same as Xueqi's expectations for him. It was just that she was healthy. However, she would not be less proud of any achievements of the other party. Lin Yuan took out the Vajra butterfly stored in the leaf-shaped diamond Fey storage box in the breeding room. Fey name, Vajra butterfly, Fey species, Chrysalis/Chrysalis, Fey grade, Bronze, 10/10, Fey type, Metal, Fey quality, Epic abilities Frowny face wing block, condense hard metal on the wings to block. Steel pattern shield, quickly attach to the target and condense a hard metal transparent omnidirectional shield that can follow the target's movement. Exclusive skill Frowny face counterattack tremor. When attacked, a portion of the damage received will be reflected back in the form of an energy tremor, regardless of whether it is a physical attack or a magic attack. Lin Yuan was very satisfied with this Vajra butterfly, especially its exclusive skill. This Vajra butterfly is very suitable for you and can take on your responsibilities as a defense-type spirit chi professional. After the Vajra butterfly appeared, Xueqi saw a butterfly the size of an adult's fist that looked like a metal sculpture flying around Lin Yuan. The butterfly's wings shone with a dark metallic luster, with many metallic patterns. While flying, the Vajra butterfly flew to Xueqi's side at Lin Yuan's signal. Xueqi extended her hand, and the Vajra butterfly immediately landed on it. After teasing the Vajra butterfly for a while, Xueqi formed a contract with it. She was naturally very clear about the responsibilities of a defense-class spirit chi professional. In a team, defense-class spirit chi professionals had to cooperate with the rest of the team to take on the responsibility of defense in the team. Although the sharp iron horn bull was a defense-type Fey, it was undoubtedly more like a combat-class Fey, and its sacrifice characteristic was only effective against Xueqi. Therefore, Xueqi had only formed a contract with the sharp iron horn bull. If she formed a team with others as a defense-class spirit chi professional, she would obviously not be qualified. But now that she had the Vajra butterfly, things were clearly different. After Xueqi completed the contract with the Vajra butterfly, Lin Yuan let her summon the sharp iron horn bull. The sharp iron horn bull moved as soon as it appeared. It gently rubbed its cheek against Xueqi's hand, still worried about Xueqi's injuries in the previous battle. Clearly, it was very attached to Xueqi. Then, the sharp iron horn bull saw Lin Yuan and turned its head to Xueqi. Under Xueqi's signal, it walked to Lin Yuan's side. It shook its head at Lin Yuan as a greeting. It was obvious that the sharp iron horn bull still remembered Lin Yuan, but after becoming Xueqi's contracted Fey, it had forgotten about him. Although it remembered that Lin Yuan had saved it at that time, the moment it became Xueqi's contracted Fey, it would only listen to Xueqi's words. Feys had a spirit, and they always chose one person for life. Xueqi looked at the sharp iron horn bull's current state and knew that she had nurtured it well. At that moment, the sharp iron horn bull had evolved from bronze level I 2 months ago to bronze level 4. Such a speed was undoubtedly very fast without the help of a creation master. In addition, the sharp iron horn bull's body was much stronger than before. The metal luster on its body was thicker, and even the horns on its head were sharper. Clearly, the sharp iron horn bull usually ate a lot of metal to have such good development. However, Xueqi was now faced with a choice. The willpower rune that Xueqi had comprehended had a strong feeling of metal. Therefore, this willpower rune was very suitable for both the sharp iron horn bull and the Vajra butterfly that she had just formed a contract with. In such a situation, Xueqi, as the contractor, had to make a choice. Lin Yuan knew that the choice would be very difficult, but Xueqi had to make a choice because there was only one willpower rune, after all. Xueqi, your willpower runes are suitable for both the Vajra butterfly and the sharp iron horn bull. Which Fey do you want to evolve into a fantasy breed? Fantasy breed? Xueqi asked in surprise. She could not make sense of the situation. Why did Lin Yuan suddenly mention fantasy breed? He even asked her to choose between the sharp iron hornbull and the Vajra butterfly to evolve into a fantasy breed first. Although fantasy breeds were not considered common knowledge, they were taught in Xueqi's courses. Xueqi naturally knew that to evolve a fae into a fantasy breed, she needed to evolve it to legend. Xueqi looked at Lin Yuan in a daze. Could Lin Yuan be able to evolve a fae to legend? Lin Yuan reached out and scratched the tip of Xueqi's nose, bringing her back to reality. Silly girl, when have I ever lied to you? The choice you make this time will affect your future development path for a long time, so you must be careful. She had always trusted him unconditionally. Therefore, she was now carefully thinking about the problem that Lin Yuan had asked her to think about and began to weigh the use of willpower runes in her heart. In the end, Xueqi said firmly after a moment of contemplation, I choose the sharp iron horn bull. Lin Yuan sighed. Selfishly, he hoped that she would choose the Vajra butterfly. Since the Vajra butterfly had evolved into a fantasy breed, it could protect Xueqi's safety very well, and she would almost never be in danger of having her arm fractured like today. After all, the Vajra butterfly was an extremely powerful defense-type fae. After evolving into a fantasy breed and awakening its second exclusive skill, its defense would only become stronger. Previously, Lin Yuan had wanted to create an iron bucket sister. However, as a spirit chi professional and a person with an independent personality, she had the right to choose the path she wanted to take in the future. As an elder brother, Lin Yuan would intervene when it came to major issues, but he could only guide her on this path. At that moment, Lin Yuan asked again very cautiously, have you really decided on the sharp iron horn bull? Willpower runes had always been something that could only be encountered and not sought. Although Xueqi had already obtained a willpower rune, she did not know when she would obtain another willpower rune again. Therefore, all spirit chi professionals were very cautious about the phase they wanted to choose for the willpower rune. Once they chose a fae to fuse with the willpower rune, it was very likely that their combat style and combat system in the future would change with this choice. Xueqi nodded without the slightest hesitation this time, her eyes shining. Lin Yuan, I'm sure. Xueqi also had her own goal. She wanted to pass the Redbud 100 selection and become one of the top 10. Then, she would represent Redbud City to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence competition. Xueqi had some considerations in her heart. If she chose the Vajra butterfly, although her defense would increase, her combat ability would undoubtedly be much weaker than choosing the sharp iron hornbull. However, whether it was the Redbud 100 selection or the Radiance 100 sequence competition, individual ability was undoubtedly more important than team ability. Therefore, if he wanted to be in the top 10 of the Redbud 100 and be qualified to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence competition, it would undoubtedly be more suitable to evolve the sharp iron hornbull into a fantasy breed. At the same time, as Xueqi's first fae, the sharp iron hornbull had long since adapted to fighting with it. In fact, Xueqi, a 15-year-old girl, had her own ambitions. She wanted to use her own efforts to stand in the Radiance 100 sequence. Although she had always been sheltered under Lin Yuan's wings, she still felt that she could not help it. However, one day, she also wanted to be fully fledged and able to protect him. This was the warm ambition of a young girl. After Xueqi made up her mind, Lin Yuan began to prepare to enhance the sharp iron hornbull. I hope that friends who like this book can come to QQ to support the original version. Thank you very much. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 157. Lin Yuan's Fae affinity was with healing type phase, support type phase, and plant type phase. However, as a healing type and support type phase, Lin Yuan had the heart to output. Lin Yuan chose to nurture Red Thorn into a combat class Fae. He chose to nurture Red Thorn into a combat class Fae. Just by looking at Red Thorn's current form, it could be seen how dedicated Lin Yuan was to output. However, Lin Yuan did not expect his younger sister to be like him. As a defense-type spirit chi professional, she was addicted to controlling a big iron bull to output. It was true that people who were not of the same family would not enter the same door. If he wanted to upgrade the bronze sharp iron horn bull's quality to legend, he would need more than 5 days. During these 5 days, Lin Yuan would be able to enhance the sharp iron horn bull by himself in the breeding room. At that moment, a bell rang at the breeding room's door. During normal days, If a creation master was nurturing fays in the creation master's breeding room, no one would disturb them. Therefore, when the bell at the breeding room's door rang, Lin Yuan knew that Elder Ning had arrived. When Lin Yuan had come to visit Xueqi, he had only wanted to send her the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar and let her sign a contract with the Vajra butterfly that he had nurtured previously. He had not expected her to comprehend a willpower rune. If he wanted to enhance the sharp iron hornbull's quality to legend, he would need some spiritual ingredients to assist. However, due to the suddenness of the matter, Lin Yuan had not prepared these spiritual ingredients in advance. Therefore, when he had visited Elder Ning just now, Lin Yuan had asked Elder Ning to see if there were any spiritual ingredients needed to enhance the sharp iron hornbull's quality in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association's material room. Lin Yuan opened the door and saw Elder Ning standing there. At the same time, Lin Yuan saw Ning Xuejuan, who had received him when he had participated in the Creation Master exam in the Redbud City's Creation Master Association. Ning Xuejuan was Elder Ning's granddaughter. Ning Xuejuan was holding a bronze face storage box in her hand. When Ning Xuejuan saw Lin Yuan, she nodded and greeted him. At the same time, her eyes were filled with surprise. Ning Xuejuan had a very deep impression of Lin Yuan, as he was the only one in the Radiance Federation who had scored full marks for all 3 knowledge-type lifestyle spirit chi occupations Class 1 exams. Ning Xuejuan was surprised to see Lin Yuan again. Compared to before, Lin Yuan's temperament seemed to have changed a lot. Elder Ning looked at Lin Yuan and laughed heartily. "Little Yuan, this old man has already prepared all the spiritual materials you asked for previously." At least, he no longer had to waste time collecting the spiritual ingredients needed to upgrade the sharp iron hornbull to legend. Lin Yuan touched the back of his head and smiled brightly. "Elder Ning, thank you for your trouble. If he wanted to upgrade the bronze sharp iron hornbull to legendary grade, he would need a large amount of ferromanganese ores and metal essences. Ferromanganese ores and metal essences were not very rare spirit materials. Metal essence was the crystallization left behind by mixing a large amount of metals together and forging them at high temperatures. Ferromanganese ore is a dark blue flake of metal deep in the earth. While ferromanganese ore was abnormally hard, if one touched it with their hands, their fingers would feel a kind of metallic prickling. Metal essence and ferromanganese ore were 2 spiritual materials. Metal essence required 250 caddies, while ferromanganese ore required 1,000 caddies. Metal essence's price was about 2 radiance dollars per caddy, while ferromanganese ore required nearly 8 radiance dollars per caddy. If it were in the past, Lin Yuan would not be able to take out nearly 20,000 radiance dollars at once. However, since he had the massive amount of radiance dollars in Chang Wu's beetle-shaped face storage box, Lin Yuan no longer needed to be restrained if he wanted to buy these spiritual ingredients to nurture fays. He could just buy them and use them. Ning Xuejuan handed the bronze face storage box to Lin Yuan and looked at Xueqi, who was beside him. Ning Xuejuan could tell at a glance that Xueqi was Lin Yuan's younger sister, even though Xueqi and Lin Yuan's temperament was completely different. Lin Yuan was the kind of sunny youth that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Xueqi, on the other hand, had a trace of coldness in her tranquility. Although she had a smile on her face, she seemed to have a faint sense of alienation from everything except Lin Yuan. Even if their temperaments were completely different, their eyebrows and eyes were very similar. With this kind of facial resemblance, it was obvious that they were related by blood. Ning Xuejuan extended her hand in a friendly manner and greeted Xueqi. Xueqi was stunned. Then, she smiled faintly and shook hands with Ning Xuejuan politely. When Elder Ning saw this, he looked at Xueqi and laughed. "Little Yuan, you are nurturing fays inside and can't take care of this little girl. Why don't I bring the little girl out and let my granddaughter accompany her to stroll around?" It just so happened that Lin Yuan had been thinking about enhancing his fays. He could not possibly let her stay in this breeding room out of boredom. He needed to focus on nurturing fays for the next 5 days. He really could not bear to leave her aside. He was more at ease now that Xueqi was with Elder Ning and Ning Xuejuan. Xueqi turned to look at Lin Yuan. After Lin Yuan nodded, she openly followed Elder Ning and Ning Xuejuan out of the breeding room. Lin Yuan was the only one left in the breeding room. Lin Yuan also took out the metal essences and ferromanganese ores stored in the bronze face storage box that Ning Xuejuan had just handed over. Then, he touched the sharp iron hornbull's horns and said, "Iron lump, Go eat these metal essences and ferromanganese ores, then I'll raise your grade. Although the sharp iron horn bull was not as intelligent as Xueqi, it could still understand Lin Yuan's words. Understanding Lin Yuan's meaning, the sharp iron horn bull immediately snorted excitedly and hurriedly ate the metal essences and ferromanganese ores that Lin Yuan had put on the ground. Although there were 250 kilograms of metal essence and 1,000 kilograms of ferromanganese iron, which sounded like a lot, it wasn't worth it. However, because the metal essence and the ferromanganese ores were extremely dense, they were abnormally heavy. Therefore, the metal essences and ferromanganese ores didn't seem to be much. Just as the sharp iron horn bull was happily eating the metal essences and ferromanganese ores, Lin Yuan looked at it and smiled faintly. In Lin Yuan's opinion, obtaining the severely injured elite/epic sharp rock bull had been a great bargain and an excellent fei. But now that Lin Yuan had money, he could easily buy a lot of defense-type feis that were better than the elite/epic sharp rock bull. Fortunately, the elite-ranked sharp rock bull had comprehended the sacrifice skill at elite rank. This rare ability allowed the sharp iron horn bull to be above most defense-type feis. When Lin Yuan had just recovered his body and could feel spirit qi, he didn't have any time to accumulate resources. Therefore, it was really difficult for Lin Yuan to prepare a defense-type fei for Xueqi. However, as a big brother, Lin Yuan had a clear conscience. Back then, Lin Yuan had fulfilled that sentence. What I'm giving you might not be the best, but this is what I can give. It's the best I can give now. The sharp iron horn bull had undergone a great transformation because of sacrifice. Now, the sharp iron horn bull was about to usher in its second transformation in its bull life. This transformation was also an extremely important sublimation in Xueqi's life. Lin Yuan quickly circulated the spiritual power in his body, and the pure spirit qi was quickly absorbed by every cell in the sharp iron horn bull's body. The sharp iron horn bull's cells seemed to be activated by this pure spiritual power and showed a hungry state, scrambling to absorb the energy in the metal essences and ferromanganese ores in its stomach. Time flew, and Lin Yuan basically didn't rest much for the past 5 days. At that moment, the sharp iron horn bull suddenly moved. The sharp iron horn bull's body, which was originally nearly 3 meters tall, had now skyrocketed to 3.5 meters and become stronger. The horns on both sides of its head and the horn on its forehead were even sharper, flickering with a cold metallic light. At that moment, Lin Yuan had finally promoted the bronze sharp iron horn bull's quality to legend. Next, he had to wait for Xueqi to fuse the willpower rune with the sharp iron horn bull and evolve it into a fantasy breed. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 158. At noon, Xueqi and Ning Xuejuan had just returned from a meal outside. Ning Xuejuan had been interacting with Xueqi for the past few days, and she always felt that Xueqi was refreshing her senses over and over again. At first, Ning Xuejuan felt that Xueqi was a girl who was indifferent and alienated from everything except Lin Yuan. However, after interacting with her for a few days, Ning Xuejuan realized that Xueqi wasn't indifferent to everything. Even that faint sense of alienation had completely disappeared after a few days of interaction. In the end, Ning Xuejuan finally understood that Xueqi's estrangement stemmed from her personality of not wanting to worry about things that didn't concern her, as well as her shyness. Elder Ning had been researching and cultivating the spiral-toothed shark as usual these past few days. Therefore, Ning Xuejuan had been with Xueqi for the past few days, whether they were eating or resting, and they gradually became friends. Xueqi, let's not go to this place for dinner tomorrow. Why did they put so much garlic in their cold dish? In the afternoon, I still have to receive some newcomers who are participating in the Creation Master exam. Ning Xuejuan pouted. When Xueqi heard Ning Xuejuan's words, she took out a watermelon-flavored hard candy from her pocket. The watermelon-flavored hard candy had a refreshing watermelon flavor, and it was able to cover up the strong garlic taste in the mouth. Xueqi had always had the habit of putting a piece of hard candy in her pocket because her body had been weak in the past and would often feel dizzy. Or they might suffer from hypoglycemia due to the daily chores of maintaining the store. When Xueqi was by his side, she would hand over the hard candy in her pocket when he was dizzy. Even though Lin Yuan's body had recovered, she still maintained this habit that she had developed for nearly a decade. Ning Xuejuan's eyes lit up when she saw the hard candy Xueqi handed her. She took it and put it in her mouth, immediately speaking in an exaggerated manner. Xueqi, watermelon-flavored hard candy tastes so good. It's much better than chocolate. At this moment, there were two spirit chi professionals seated in the Creation Master Association's first-floor hall. They looked like females in their 20s and were dressed very beautifully. It was likely that they had made an appointment with a Creation Master to nurture their phase. At that moment, Xueqi suddenly heard a long-haired female spirit chi professional speak. Last night, my best friend told me that her boyfriend of 8 years had cheated on her. Asked the short-haired female spirit chi professional, who was clearly interested in this topic. Why? How could he cheat on her? After 8 years together, you should have a child by now. The long-haired female spirit chi professional was fiddling with the decorations on her spirit chi attire and said in disdain, "Not a single man is good." Another female spirit chi professional quickly chimed in. "That's right, I think so too. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be single." As soon as he finished speaking, the long-haired female spirit chi professional beside him sighed. 8 whole years of love. To think that you couldn't even resist my seduction. Ning Xuejuan started coughing after hearing the conversation. She almost choked on the watermelon-flavored hard candy in her mouth. Xueqi also had a strange expression on her face. Xueqi couldn't help but think to herself, "Is this the world of adults?" The world of adults was too scary. Fortunately, I'm just a kid. In the afternoon, Ning Xuejuan went to receive the newcomers that were participating in the Creation Master exam. Xueqi logged onto the star web in Ning Xuejuan's office and watched the videos of defense-class spirit chi professionals fighting in the S tournament to learn their defensive techniques. At that moment, Xueqi received a call from Lin Yuan. Xueqi arrived at the breeding room where Lin Yuan was. As soon as she entered, she saw that her contracted sharp iron horn bull was much stronger than before, be it in size or the sharpness of its horns. Lin Yuan was currently feeding some metal spiritual ingredients to the sharp iron horn bull so that it could accumulate more energy in preparation for becoming a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan stood up when he saw Xueqi come in. "Xueqi, the sharp iron horn bull's quality has reached legend now. Fuse the willpower rune you comprehended with the sharp iron horn bull, and it will evolve into a fantasy breed." Xueqi was currently looking at the sharp iron horn bull. She couldn't help but be astonished to see that the sharp iron horn bull had changed so much in 5 days. Although she knew about the means of creation masters, she had always been in school and had never seen or experienced it. The sharp iron horn bull was intimately rubbing its cheek against Xueqi's palm. Xueqi was surprised by the sharp iron horn bull's changes while feeling the growth brought about by its quality improvement. She was happy. The splendor of life lay in evolution. No matter what kind of creature it was, every evolution and evolution was a small epitome of life's greatness. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and smiled when he saw Xueqi's astonished look. He said with a smile, "When you fuse the willpower rune with the sharp iron horn bull, it will truly transform." Xueqi, under what circumstances did you comprehend the willpower rune? This is very important because this willpower rune will affect the direction of your exclusive skill. Xueqi stuck out her tongue and carefully glanced at Lin Yuan before replying embarrassedly, "Well, when I was fighting against the seniors, the sharp iron horn bull was knocked down again and again." Well, when I was fighting against the seniors, the sharp iron horn bull was knocked down again and again, but it always stood up and charged. Because of this, I felt the sharp iron horn bull's steel-like will and comprehended this willpower rune. Lin Yuan held his forehead. What else could he say? Xueqi's willpower rune was formed by recklessness. Did that mean that his plan to raise his sister into an iron bucket had failed at this stage? When Lin Yuan saw her careful expression, he rubbed the hair on the top of her head and said, "Don't worry. No matter how you walk your own path, I, your brother, will always stand behind you, so you can proudly stride forward." Xueqi beamed brightly and nodded vigorously. Then she silently said in her heart, "You're right. Brother, I also want to tell you in the future that I can stand behind you. Even if I can't protect you, I want to help you and fight alongside you." Xueqi summoned the willpower rune in her spiritual space. Since they had been outside, the willpower rune that Xueqi had summoned had flashed by, and he had not had the chance to carefully feel it. But now, this bluish-black willpower rune had an iron-like willpower and a heavy metallic smell that moved Lin Yuan. Through this willpower rune, Lin Yuan could see how hard a 15-year-old girl and her bronze sharp iron hornbull worked on a daily basis. As Xueqi urged the dark green willpower rune, it fused with the sharp iron hornbull. A violent mooing resounded in the breeding room. It was different from the calm when the plant-type Fae, the jasmine lily, had evolved into a fantasy breed. At that moment, the sharp iron hornbull's body trembled violently in the thick metallic halo. It was obviously trying its best to endure the pain. Suddenly, the metallic halo flourished, and a pure black color rose from the bluish-black halo. At that moment, Lin Yuan and Xueqi realized that the horns on both sides of the sharp iron hornbull's head and the sword-like horn on its forehead instantly melted. Then, the sharp iron hornbull's entire body was wrapped in this sudden flourishing metallic halo. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbookhouse for free. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.